What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in tonight. We already got 30 people waiting to see this live, and you know what? It's going to be a good one. I got my friends Adam and Matt from SPL Loud, or SPL Loud, look, listen to me, SPL Lab. Don't technically work for them, but they honestly should. They know a thing or two about it, and we're going to learn from A to Z everything about the SPL Lab. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. So let me get these guys on the screen. First, we're going to throw up Matt Stark. What's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. And Adam Russell, thank you for joining the show. It's going to be awesome, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be awesome, man. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Trying to stay warm. You know, we got a little bit of snow and rain last night, but that's Pennsylvania for you. How about you guys?
I think I'm probably 32, 33 degrees. It'll be mid-teens by the end of the night.
Woo.
Yeah, no snow right now, but
yeah, it's sleeting here.
Thank you, David, for the super chat, man. Dave is that dude. Thank you, guys. I appreciate every penny you guys send me. I really don't need it, but thank you guys so much. It really makes, this happen. But let's start off SPL Lab. What is SPL Lab, and what do you guys do for SPL Lab? Let's hear about it.
So to start off, SPL Lab is a sound pressure levels and microphone noise meters. They use multiple function devices. They even have into like race meters, and they do a lot of different things. Specifically going into it, as far as like me and Matt, like you said, we don't work for them. We're everyday users of these. We've got into a lot of detail of it to make it useful and help. And realistically, pretty much like user R&D is, I guess, what you would say that we do.
That's awesome. You know what I mean? You always need someone like that to honestly test the equipment and make sure what they're doing is working for the consumer. And I just seen, is this Sean Madison from SPL Lab?
Oh, it is.
Here I am.
Special
What's up, buddy?
guest.
You made it.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah.
I was telling Adam that I had to be put under anesthesia earlier today for just a small infection. But when they stuck the IV in me, they missed shot all the saline into my arms, and now my arm's inflated. So I'm not working back that tonight. But yeah, I've been awake all day, so I'm good to go.
Well, we're happy
Awesome.
you're just here, man. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us, especially on this topic, man. This is right up your alley too, huh?
I know a thing or two about the company. Yeah.
I would sure hope so. I've learned a lot from you and everybody else. So.
Yep. And this is my first live broadcast with people too. So
Oh, well, I feel honored. I feel honored, man. You know what I mean? I came to you for the SPL Lab. You hooked me up on a good deal during a discount savings time, and I've never turned away from it. It's an awesome product, and obviously I upgraded ever since the first one. The what was it? The USB, non-Bluetooth, just the SPL. You know what I mean? The basic stuff. But man, did it do the trick? And it was, for the price, you couldn't pass it up, man, for what it did.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that Kirill, the owner of SPL Lab in Russia, he before SPL Lab was started in 2007, that he's always been a software and a hardware engineer, so he's never had to rely on third-party.
The base heads is up, David.
To do their own innovation testing or whatever. So once I came along in 2010 and things started getting, more advanced or whatever, more ideas can come out, and we, it's not as hard as, hey, we got an idea. Oh, it's going to take years to test. Nope.
Right.
If it's an interesting idea, we could test it right now. Just give us a couple weeks, and if it passes, then we'll really test it. There is no. It's not like a big company, but there's no middleman either. Like Kirill is the source. Kirill knows everything. So, whether it comes to manufacturing, to R&D, to anything, software,
coding, he does it all.
Yeah, and see, before I came along, the only thing he could do was sell what he had because everything was on his plate. And then I came along in 2010, and then I got sales off of his plate. So now he sells worldwide. And then I started taking care of some of the warranty work here, and then back then, back when the company wasn't booming like it is now, I still had time to do other stuff. But right now, um, basically here, it's just besides sales, it's R&D and warranty work. That's it. Like I used to translate the manuals for them. I don't even think I have time to do that anymore. The company's just booming so big right now.
Wow. That's awesome. That is definitely awesome. So, Adam, what are some things that you wanted to show about the SPL Lab and the software, and pretty much explain to the guys, it's not as hard as it may look, and if they have any questions, we're here to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically what I think I want to start off with, and what is a big error that a lot of people make, is not installing drivers and like getting the new updated software, or different. There's a couple different things. So if you want to share my screen here, basically I'm just gonna kind of start off with that. Pretty simple. I'm sure Shane's real familiar with this. It's just the website. But once you order your product and you're using the software, the best thing to do is go to here to the support. And the USBs do come with this, but it's always not the updated version, the newest one, because they're putting out new ones all the time. But you want to go here and make sure you get the right software. This actually, I was going to talk to you, Shane, or message Krill. This still shows that it's the 2.6 version, which we're actually at 2.7.8 now. So we may want to update that.
There's a lot of outdated manuals too, like especially the measurements of the measuring center when it goes into explaining how to use the clamp. Like from once Adam existed, in the SPL Lab realm, it's done advanced so far in the software that it's like comparing Windows 3.1 to Windows 2000 or like Windows 7.
Exactly. For the past 3 years, I've dedicated hard time to this and making it work. But the first thing you guys really want is this USB driver for whether you're running the Next Lab or the LCD meter.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Super important. Yeah.
Okay. I've been meaning to say this, and like you said about updating the manual. This is something very important. As of right now, any customer who purchases any type of device that can be wired to a computer, so that excludes the mini base meter version 1 and 2. So like all the other SPL meters and the Next USB, Next LCD, and LCD meter SE, all
the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that one too, and the USB base meter. All the devices now all use the same chip that we call the Next Lab chip. And what you're seeing on the website now, drivers for Next USB, that is the drivers for everything. The only difference is for the LCD base meter. Or actually, that's the original base meter. I believe that the new one.
Yeah, this is the first or second edition. The new one, I believe, does use this one.
Yeah, I think the first edition does, because the second edition operates on the Next Lab devices now. So yeah, every wired device uses the same driver now, which is it's confusing because it says Next USB. Even the flash drives say drivers for Next LCD and Next USB, but it needs to be changed to basically just drivers.
Right, and the USB actually does have this 2.6 on it on most of them. I don't know if the new shipment has, but the last shipment did.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't updated the software on the flash drive in a while mainly because the manuals have been outdated for so long that I'm afraid I'll start confusing people.
Right, and that's that's just one of those things. We'll get to it for sure. But those drivers need to be installed before you even plug in any of your guys' devices. Like that has to be in there for it to connect. If it don't, when you go to connect things, the first thing you're going to do is get an error that says it can't find a device.
So what is this screen right here that you got up? Is this the main menu or?
So when you first power on the device, this is what comes up. This is called the configuration. This is the configuration, and let me see.
And the good news about the configuration screen is that once you set your settings in this configuration with whatever hardware that you have plugged up, once you hit save, it'll always retain that in a configuration INI file. So when you go to plug it back in and turn on the software, it's just bam, ready to go.
Right.
And
And when you before you do that, you really want to make your selections on what sensors you're using here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh, and one important thing too, SPL Lab has always pushed that when you have a multi-sensor kit, meaning more than one different type of sensor, always connect the SPL sensor to the most primary port. So if you have an SPL sensor and a clamp, always connect the SPL sensor to port 1. Port 2, 3, and 4 are all considered secondary.
So on that note as well, port 1 and port 2 are powered ports, so the clamp and the RTA has to go on those ones. They won't run on sensor 3 and 4.
And there is limitations. I can't remember them all by heart. The only sensor that you can run on all 4 ports at the same time is the SPL sensor.
And the wideband now.
Okay. And the RTA, the last time I remember, the RTA was only limited to 1 microphone at a time. But the clamps, I think you can do 2 the max. Okay, 2 the max.
So you can do two of the AC/DC clamps. The RTA, you can run 1 RTA, but you can run an SPL with it as well. And the reason that is the AC/DC clamps uses about, 30,000 kilobytes per second or whatever, megabytes. The RTA uses like 50,000, where like just the SPL meter itself only uses like 5,000. So it's the data transferring that goes through the processors that are in these devices.
You guys are speaking Chinese to me right now. Speaking Chinese, but you know what? Someone's got to know what it does.
Well, let me tell you one more Chinese secret that's not happening yet, but it has been talked about behind the scenes between me and Kirill. When the next SPL wideband sensor came out, it's can go up to 185 dB. I think it starts at 110 dB. 10 hertz to 20 kilohertz. But what if you wanted to use that for, not such high amplitude? That's when you would need a normal RTA. Well, we have talked about using our low-level RTAs in conjunction with the wideband sensor, because it would be the end-all 2-sensor kit. And he is interested in it. And while it is limited right now by what Adam's saying, if and when the update does come, there will be the ability to measure between 50 decibels to 185 decibels, between 10 to 20 kilohertz. In the 2-sensor kit would I mean, right off the top of my head, the retail price would probably be about around $650, but it would literally measure everything. I mean, There's nothing left to measure.
All in one, like 3-in-1 shampoo, right? Might as well.
Exactly. So you can see here that you can set up sensor 1 and 2 for AC/DC, but when you get to 3 and 4, it's only the SPL, which something that you really want to do when you do this before you save your configuration. You need to upload this into the device before it's saved. Now, one thing after upload that I've noticed is right here, you got your millivolt selection. So currently with this unchecked, it reads 1 millivolt sensors, which is what we want for DC clamps when we're using a DC clamp on this. When you're using the AC clamp, you want to click the 10 millivolt reading, and that'll give you the correct reading for that. And then you want to upload that again before you save your configuration.
Makes sense.
And then once you save it, it'll pop you back here, which I'm not done with the configuration yet. A couple things that if you're different language right here, that's awesome. But right here, we can change background screens to, there's quite a few different selections that we can go through and just, change it to whatever you want. But there's some of them that still need a little tweaking, and we've been working on that to get the colors correctly. But you'll want to do that. And then the other thing is this countdown. I actually learned this from Matt here. Your countdown timer, when it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the count. If you click countdown, it'll actually do the 30 down to 1. If it's not clicked, then it goes 1 up to 30. So, you know, some people do or don't like that. So you'll want to, you know, change that and then go into your configuration to bring up this screen.
Wow.
Hey, Adam.
I mean, it seems complicated, but I know from experience it's not as, you know, difficult.
Well, and the thing is as soon as you set this up, and like Shane was saying, once you set this up, you typically don't have to go do it again because it saves it into the INI file, and it is always there.
And on that note, this is very important because many people don't know this, that if they do install the software, or I say install, if they do use the software off the flash drive that comes with the kits, do not execute the software off the flash drive. The purpose of it is to copy it onto your computer so that if it ever corrupts itself for whatever reason, because, you know, our software is not installable. It's what they call portable, which means it doesn't write anything into the registry, so it's not part of the system and, you know, all that. So if it corrupts, who cares? Delete it, copy it again off the flash drive, or download it again off the website. The only thing that you're going to lose is your configuration INI file. And no, you don't want to back that up, because if you did have to wipe out the software because it corrupted, you don't want to bring the corruption back with you. But the only thing that you'd have to redo is what kit are you using and what sensors and what, and that's it.
Right.
But I did have a question for you, Adam. I don't know if you knew this or not, and I'm going to blow Andy's mind too. Do you know why the 10 millivolt setting is in the configuration? It's not for DC. That's not the original reason why it was put there. This was back when AC only, was a thing. Has Kirill ever told you why that is?
No, I didn't get into it with him on that. I just know that he said the 10 millivolt for the meters that we use, unless you go to a different meter, and then the DC use the 1 millivolt.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm about to blow all y'all's mind. Okay. Here we go. When the AC clamp kit first came out, because they have a switch on them, one millivolt or 10 millivolt. When they first came out, they was all said, keep them at 10, and then then that's it. And then it worked for a while, and I started asking Kirill questions about, hey, let's do DC, whatever, and he goes, no, because if we do, we'll have to switch the clamp back to 1 millivolt, and it would make it too sensitive, and blah 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 blah. I didn't want to get into the details about it, so I'm like, all right, whatever. And then, especially with what the world knows now, this happened. All across the world, we found out that our competitors' clamps started having problems measuring certain brand amplifiers. And I wasn't paying attention to it. I just hear about it, I hear all kinds of stuff. I just, whatever. Well, I keep hearing it. Then it comes local. People I know local is saying the same thing. So-and-so brand can't clamp it shows right at all. It's way off, like thousands of watts off. So it started making me think. I go, is our hardware off? So I started doing testing here, and I could never, ever, ever get the clamp to read right. It was doing the same thing. And so I started talking to a Kirill. I go, hey, we got a problem, and I know you might be able to fix it because, you're an engineer. So I started explaining the problem. Well, he owned a Stetson amp that he bought from somebody in Russia, and he tested it. And good thing he had the same problem. So first thing he thought of is start putting magnets on the wire. That's not a good idea, because when you put magnets on the wire, you need a certain amount of magnets for how much power that you're pulling. Well, if you're going to be measuring different amps, then you won't know how many magnets that you need. Too many magnets will lower the score, etc. So that was a bad idea. So he goes, you know what? I have an ingenious idea. He goes, give me about a month, and I get back to you. Just keep it on the back burner. I go, all right, whatever. A month comes by. He goes, I want you to download this beta software that I made, and I want you to use your same kit. Now, remember, I didn't change any hardware. He just told me to download the beta software. I installed it. He told me to measure the same amplifier and tell me what you get, and test it. back it up with the, whatever ammeter that I have laying around. And I did it, and no matter at what amplitude that I would turn the gain up, it's reading dead on. And I go, okay, how did you use software to fix what many people were saying were an EMI problem? He goes, well, this is what I did. He said, when you set these clamps to 1 millivolt, it makes them super sensitive. Our competitors' clamps use 1 millivolt. Okay, well, he said the way we're going to do this is you want to use DC clamps in the future. So he goes, I decided to just make everything 1 millivolt, but to do that, it's going to induce a lot of interference. He goes, so I connected our clamp kit to the outputs of the Stetson amp to find the noise range of the output that his amplifier was making, and he found that range is way up there. I don't know if they're all the same, but I think his amp was like 10 point something kilohertz was where the noise was. So what he did is, after some testing, he was able to filter out this range, and then in the software, trick the software into telling itself that the clamp is set to 10 millivolt when it's really 1 millivolt, bypassing the interference that 1 millivolt gives, even though it's not to 1 millivolt. But when the signals are sent into the software, it's intercepted as 10 millivolt. And with that interference algorithm that he put in it, it reconverts it back down into 1 millivolt. That's where that noise reduction thing is, which, Adam, I can get into later. And what you get...
if you want to share my screen, Matt, I can... All right, Andy.
Gotcha, man.
And what you get is a normal, clean output with a whole bunch of noise filtering that you didn't know was going on in the background. And it was specifically to combat this problem. And when he first did it, I kind of just threw my hands up in the air because I was kind of laughing. I go, I cannot believe that you just fixed an EMI problem with software.
Right there.
Wow, that's
crazy.
You
can turn it off and on.
It's almost like you're thinking backwards and then flipping it back just to get the right results to jump over something that's causing a problem. That's crazy. Because I remember coming to you about that, the 1 millivolt, 10 millivolt setting. I was messing with it and asking questions about it.
Yeah, because we always thought, oh my gosh, the whole cardio world is stuck in a pickle because all of our hardware is not reading right. What are we going to do? And then here he comes along. Let me just write an algorithm. I'll be back.
And he's pretty quick at it too, man. I think I got 13 or 14 different beta versions in the past week on this new update when it comes out. Yeah.
Hey, I have a few questions before we continue. Just I know some of these guys were asking about the software. David says, guys, do we need a gaming laptop to run the software for everything?
It depends what you consider everything. If you're talking 2 clamps and 2 SPL meters and you're going to want to do competition, I actually run mine on a older Dell Optiplex 9020 with a 4 gig processor and 32 gigabytes of DDR3, and it runs it absolutely flawlessly. Now, when you do start running multiple things like that, the biggest thing that I've run into is actually USB voltage from
that makes
computer to the device. And it's really, really prone in laptops because laptops have a very, very small power supply, typically 2-3 amps or whatever. And I ran into this problem. So 2 fixes on that right there is one, this thing right here, which is just a powered hub, USB 3 powered hub, and run it from your computer to the device itself. That helps power the device. The other thing you can do is if you have an issue is you can get a bigger power supply and or to your laptop. So if you have like a 3 amp one, upgrade it to like a 6 amp, and that helps a lot as well.
Hey,
that's
Adam.
awesome.
Hey, can y'all blow my screen up so I can show y'all this?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
this is another option that I found about what Adam is saying is true. There's a lot of next USB. Well, there's a lot of computers where the next USB just don't pick up unless you have more power. And I had thought about what he said about the USB hub, but I also think that if you're at shows that you may not have access to power sometimes, or if you're just out testing, in the middle of a field somewhere. So what I've been doing is every time someone orders a next USB, I'll supply them with this now. What this is you see it's a, where's my camera? Okay. It's just a normal Type A female port. So the next USB uses just a single Type A male port, and then on the other side, you'll convert the next USB to use 2 USB ports instead of 1. That'll guarantee a minimum of 1 full amp of a USB power, because USB 2.0 is a half an amp piece. So this right here, 1 amp guaranteed, and every cable that I've sent to a customer has not failed me yet. So that's the cheapest option I can think of right now. And we don't even charge for these cables unless for some unknown reason that you damage yours or something. But we consider them a flaw, or at least I do. I consider it a engineering flaw with the devices. So I decided to just stock up on a lot of these, when the problem was first found, and just start shipping them out with orders.
Wow.
So,
I mean, that makes sense, and it's kind of nice to have, and you don't think about, how much power does my laptop or my computer have to do all these processes? I mean, I do everything on a laptop. I don't have no top-of-the-line laptop. I can't use the SPL Lab software and stream at the same time. I've tried it. It glitches just a little bit. Now, if I had a higher processing computer, I'd be able to do that. But I feel like for 90%, majority of the people using the SPL Lab for just, metering their own car, or, small competitions, just using the meter and the clamp, just like how I use it, or a lot of people. You don't need a, quote, gaming computer with high RAM and all that kind of fancy stuff. But just like car audio, you can never have too much electrical. So there are some things you have to consider if you are trying to do the non-normal. You know what I mean? So excellent point there, man.
Right. Yeah, absolutely upgrade the power supply no matter how you do it, whether it's a cable like that, a hub, a better power supply. I mean, it's just, like you said, it's just like the audio. It really helps out a lot. It gives it that voltage that it needs.
Hey, has Krill ever told you what the, because he's never told me really, but has he ever told you what the minimum system requirements are for SPL Lab in general?
For the processor, approximately 2 gigahertz.
Okay. Because
as far as the RAM, it's as low as 8, but I've noticed it needs at least 16 of DDR3 or so.
Really? Mine's only 4 gigabytes. I got a $300 Dell laptop that I use for mine.
Same.
Right, yeah, 3 gigabytes, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, it runs on, I actually have a 1.6. My laptop's a 1.6. It's a Sony ZV-1 from 01. And honestly, the only problem I had was what we just discussed, the USB port. And as soon as I upgraded my power supply in that, it works flawless on the 1.6 for 1 or 2 sensors. But when you start getting into 3 or 4, that's where it starts draining it down, especially the clamps and the RTA. It takes a lot of data and a lot of power to run those.
I threw this up. I thought it was a good question. El Fuego says, can you install the software on multiple computers?
Well, it's not even installable. You just download it. You have it. You can put it on. I have it on probably 15 computers. When it comes down to it, realistically, what you can run is what you have on the device, and you don't. It's not like other things where you got to register it and go through all of that stuff.
Right.
So yes, you can have it on as many as you want. You just got to have the device plugged into it in order for it to pull up.
That's nice, because then if your computer goes down, you just re-download it and you're good to go. I know with my 3D printer, but my vinyl cutter, I actually had to call the company and tell them to disconnect my old computer so I could use it on my new laptop, the software for the editing. And that was just like, wow. But I mean, other meters.
I have that issue with my, we'll just say competitors' SPL meters. I have 2 of them. Yeah. They're completely blacklisted. You can't install them. You can't register them. They're basically paperweight. I got $3,000 in paperweight.
The premise of the question is probably because they may think that we require a license or some sort of product key, to use the software. Kirill, the owner of SPL Lab, has always made it a point. The Windows software will always be free for life. no matter what we come out with. You just have to use our hardware with it. Now, the mobile software costs money. If you want to set up shows, in an organized fashion, which we'll get into later, that has a license. But
Yeah.
as a user, it is you can copy the software and put it on an infinite number of computers. There is no limit. So the only license is for competition use, and it only costs money if you're trying to use it on Android or iOS. And I think that's only like $5.
Yeah. It's a little easier on Android. iOS, I never tried that, but I just know how Apple products are, man. They're a pain in the butt sometimes.
It used to be pretty bad. Actually, it just got updated. I believe it was last year, and now it works pretty good. A lot of people complained about it. So yeah, but it works good now. It's all updated.
Awesome. Well, if you want to keep going with your screen share there, show whatever you want to do there, Adam.
Basically, what we were talking, once the configuration is done, you can, these are your base modes right here, which we've kind of talked about most of them. SPL is of course just your SPL. Reset, peak hold. You can change your channel to 1 or 2 channels, just to run that. You can also change to 2 decimals if you want to go to 2 decimals here.
Well, that's nice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, this peak counter right here, a lot of people don't know what this is. This was actually made for musical average classes, and what you can do is set your duration, time, and how far. So like when you're doing a musical average class, people aren't running tones, and it tells you when the frequency changes to another frequency and how long in between.
Right. That's crazy. See, there's a lot more to this than I even realized, but I don't have the event stuff, so I know I'm missing out on some of it.
This right here isn't the event. This is standard user stuff right here. I haven't even got into the event stuff.
Awesome. So you guys know you get that without anything additional, so it's awesome.
Right. And, I mean, you can set your timers, you can set peak counters, things like that, frequency, your cap. This right here, we actually just added this. This will not be in most people's stuff yet. I think me and Matt are probably about the only 2 that have this one right now. But what this is this is to set a target frequency. So let's say we want to set 20 hertz and your coefficiency here. So you got a tenth, a 25th, half, 3/4, and 1. And what this does will add 1 dB or 3/4 of a dB to your run for anything under 20 hertz. So if you go 19 hertz, it would at 150, it would add 1 dB to that to be your 151. So it's for that competition style.
See, that's awesome.
SPL up cheating already.
Yeah. I mean, I like it though. I might add a new class for Team SP Loud next year. You know what I mean? For like those low frequencies.
Right, and awesome. You can set it to anything. To 30 hertz, and a half a dB for 20 would get you another 5 dB or whatever for those. So that would be cool. One thing I do want to touch on while we're right here. This right here, calibration type, super important. A lot of people complain that the SPL Labs is 1 dB off of the competitor's device, and a lot of times people set this, or usually when it comes up, we set this last night actually. When it comes up, it's in classic mode. Classic mode is the original term meter that was out there before the Magnum, and it does read less than the Magnum, or changing this to the Magnum mode, and you can see that it's in Magnum mode right here. When you switch that, switching that should get you dead on with other meters that are out there. But Krill thought it was important to have both of those on there for reference, for people that used to use them both.
That's something I need to write down. Something needs to be updated. That setting should be defaulted to Magnum at this.
I was going to say, are you guys going to do that next? That would be
yeah. Let's write that down.
See, look at that.
I'll message Krill after this and talk to him until 3 a.m. probably.
That's what we're here for,
Something I was wondering with that coefficient. That's definitely beneficial if you're testing for classes. that support it or are actually out of class. Have you talked to Kirill about letting the judges themselves type in the coefficient, down to 100th of a point, for specific, rules for a class, and instead of just a preset?
I haven't. We actually, I mean, we just literally put this in like a week and a half ago. Right. So we're still working on it, and most likely we will, just like almost everything else in here. He's really big on open software stuff where we can, as users can just use it how we want. And that's how it differs from a lot of things that are out there. A lot of things that are out there are dead set what it is. That's you don't get no choices. And as of right now, it's just these four. I haven't talked to him about changing it. We specifically did this for NADBL, actually, for Jeremy and NADBL, put this in for their 20 hertz turbulence class, but we made it open for anybody to use once they do it.
That's awesome.
Now you're probably going to kill me though, because I always have ideas just falling to the top of my head. I just seen this feature. Video games like to do bonus points. Whether don't matter what you're doing. What if you took the coefficient one step further, and most runs are for 30 seconds. So we'll just use that as an example. What if an algorithm was thrown in there along with the coefficient that measures the averaging time that you're playing below the threshold? Like, you said below 20 hertz. Let's say you're over there playing and you're peaking at 15 hertz. There would be a rolling algorithm of bonus points that for every second after X amount of seconds would start rolling in extra points. You see what I'm saying? Like maybe
that we've talked about that, and we haven't thrown it in this because we've thrown so much in this new update. It is in there. Like we were saying the other day, by the time you and me get together, we have 800 ideas, and he's going to get overwhelmed. Believe me, like I said, I got 799 in his head already. So yeah, we're just trying to take it one step at a time and focusing on certain portions of it at a time. Yeah.
And Kirill will kill us both. You used to have just me. Now you got Adam, and now you're gonna have the whole world, coming to us to all tell one person, Kirill, we got 1,100 things to do, and we got 6 months to get it done. Well, so how are we gonna do it? He's going on vacation. Trust me.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. So here I just ran that coefficient so we can see. I don't have any meters hooked up to my next USB. It runs without it. You guys can use it without it. And it directly reads 10 hertz because that's the lowest that the meter goes. But we got the coefficient at 1, at 20, it adds the 10 dB. And if we changed it to 0.1, it'd be, the 0.1. So hybrid mode. Hybrid mode is just basically adding the power meters here to the SPL in volts, amps, and it shows VA. But once you get into your limit, you can select your limits, and you can select whether you want watts or VA for it, and whether you want it to hold at max, minimum, or max SPL. Personally, I like max. I always use max. The max SPL, for whatever reason, I just don't like to use it.
I remember you telling me about that, yeah, because you can have a higher score, but say if you're in a power clamp class and then your score doesn't go up, but your power does, you still bust. So you kind of almost have to have it set at max and not max SPL. Otherwise, the score or the power won't move up because the score didn't move up.
Right.
Just something to note, because I know that's a thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
I just wrote down that. I mean, unless y'all think otherwise, that in that hybrid mode, that I believe it should be defaulted to active wattage instead of active VA. I don't think really anybody really cares about VA.
Volt amps make you feel better though, because it's you're getting more
higher.
power that way. Yeah. Come on.
Hey, you should feel good if your VA and your wattage are the same. Then you should feel really good.
All right. I'm going to take all of these out in my configuration just so I can throw RTA so we can check out RTA mode. Again, awesome. I don't have any meters hooked up, so it won't
I know
throw
Matt
much,
does, though. Matt's got some meters hooked up. We doing some dynos tonight? We're going to see some real power?
We're going to get to that as soon as we get to power mode. We got a couple other modes to get to, and then he's going to take over there for sure. So in RTA mode, you can select quite a few different things. So you can peak amplitude, points, which is what some do. You can monitor just THD levels of the sound, average. There's a lot of things to do. You can change your frequencies if you want. You can select your ejections and how you want them to eject different things like distortion and whatever, which is nice. I don't use much of the RTA. I have a little bit, but not very much at all. Realistically, SQL similar, same thing. And I believe is this where you use the wideband meter, Sean, or is it in SPL?
Both. I actually asked Kirill that because people were bugging me about it, and I didn't know. If you go into SPL mode with the wideband sensor, the software will limit the measurements to only the SPL, which is up to 120 hertz only.
Right.
But to the full amplitude. If you put it in RTA, then you'll get the full aspect of the device.
Okay. So yeah, again, I haven't used those two. I'm more of a SPL base head, and I do a lot of clamping and a lot of SPL, but I don't get into these, so I haven't done a bunch with them. Average mode, of course, that's just your 30-second average, or a minute average, or whatever you want to run.
Park and pound, yeah.
Park and pound, base race, base brawling. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. AC clamps. So here is where we want to get into the dyno stuff, and this is what you use quite a bit, right? Is this power mode?
Yep, absolutely, man. It's a godsend.
Yeah.
It's just cool knowing, first time I used it, I was just driving down the street. I wanted to see how much power my system was doing, with just playing normally. And it's like, wow, I'm only clamping like 800 watts, and this song's dumping. Yeah, I got about 1400, but damn, it's pretty cool to see it real time.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of things you could do in here. So, like you do the certified and uncertified in this selection. And this is why, to me, this is the key for SPL Labs as far as a lot of us. We get a lot of information from this for users. I mean, it's endless possibilities. Max 1%, that's 1% THD. That's where you get your certified run, where you'll see your THD here. When it hits that 1%, it stops everything else, even though the THD still goes up and down. That way you know where you're at.
Right.
But everything else freezes in this as far as readings.
That's what drove Kayla crazy one time, because I would be running certified and you would still see the red numbers going up. She's like, it's going past 1%. I'm like, no, that just reads what it's doing, but the numbers stop. And that's the difference.
Right. And we wanted to do that so that you could see it, because me and Krill talked about having it stop at that 1% like everything else. And we wanted to be able to see it so we could go up and down on it. Another thing on these clamps that's super important that a lot of people should probably look into is this calibration. You can calibrate these things to flukes or any other meters. When you save this calibration here in power mode, it does save it in the INI file for when you get into event mode or SPL mode or any of that stuff. So super important to set that. In this update, I don't think it's in the 278 yet. We also added the multiplication of like your amperage. So now your amperage, if say you had 2 amps or 3 amps, the amps will read what it is. And you'll
okay, so you can actually get total power as if all 3 amps were clamped, but they're not.
Correct. Exactly. Wow. And then what we talked about last night, and we've talked a little bit today, is the DC mode of this. So when you go into 2-channel, you can run it 2-channel AC, that's fine. But if you run it in DC, which is going to be your volts and your amps, which you need the way a DC clamp works with this is you still use the AC clamp probe box. You just change the clamp from the AC clamp to a DC clamp. And when you run this as this right here, what it'll do is throws this little red bar right up here. Okay. Oh, you're living loud's in the way, Andy. You can't see it.
Oh, my bad. Here, I'll move that out of the way.
You're good.
I see a little something there.
Yeah.
There we go.
So again, the reason this shows the peak here, and here's where you can see that these things peak out at 4,000 volts, is because I don't have anything hooked up in a DC clamp. Typically, it would be in a hall sensor needs a battery to run it inside of it. So without the clamp hooked up, this is basically showing kind of peak voltage here. Anyway, this 0% right here is efficiency. So when you run your voltage and your amperage with your AC, it takes your AC numbers versus your DC numbers and gives you efficiency for amplification.
See,
70%,
that's awesome.
80%.
That's awesome.
Right.
It's all in one unit. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing that total input power and the output power. So what the amp is needing to make that power and the percentage, so you don't have to do the math. That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, right. And everybody thinks, okay, cool, we can check out the input of an amplifier. Something else that you can do with it is you can measure the output of your alternators.
Ooh, right. You know what? I got to try that. I've been meaning to do that.
But, well, you'll need a DC clamp.
Yep. I got the one Rob gave me, but yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting that DC clamp from the SPL lab, so I can just hook it up and I can do it, and it'll be all on one screen, like literally how you're doing. So when I do my amp dyno videos, it'll be boom, bang. And you know, people love the amp dynos on the big screen compared to the smaller ones, so it'll be cool to do, for sure.
All right. And then in this version also, we added right here, you can see export. So when you make your run, after you run, you can click this and it exports all kinds of data. I haven't even got into all of it yet. It's so much.
Wow.
And it's just added. We're still continually adding to it, but it's going to show you everything that you did in your run. Export file. It's a CVS file, so you can bring it into like Open Office or Microsoft Office or anything like that, and it'll be in a spreadsheet and everything that lists. And I actually just got this. What was it, Matt? 3 days ago, I think it was. To build a explore this. I haven't even got into it yet, but it's something me and Krill been working on for quite a while. So being that we're in this power mode, I think this is where we should bring Matt in to show off his little fun stuff that he's got going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ready.
This one? No. Yeah?
Oh, I think it's gonna be the Cosmo one.
You
Yeah,
got
that's
two
the
of them
one.
here.
That's it.
All right.
We got lots of Cosmos. We need a Wanda. I can't even. Okay, cool.
Here we go.
There we go. Well, we could probably just... So Matt has... Can we do... Man, I wish I could do both like that, because you got the amps right there. And that's what we're testing, right?
Yes.
I wonder if... Man, how am I going to do this to...
Is it? Yeah, I think you can only do two. You can only do one in the big screen like that. We were talking about that last night.
Yeah, because if I do all this other stuff, there's not much else I can do unless I knock you guys off, and you're not going to be able to say a word, and then only Matt's going to be able to talk, and that's the only way to make it small, you know? Yeah.
Matt, I'll bust it out the Twisted Tea, buddy. Come on now.
Yeah. I know, I wish we could zoom in on that. That would be cool. That would be cool, but...
What are you trying to do?
Just have, you know, literally Matt's amp, like literally this video here, this feed he's got going on there, and only this guy too right here. But we can't do that because one's a camera and one is a full screen screen share. So I'm trying to think what I can do, and we don't want to knock anybody off. So
I mean, realistically, just we want to do so. That one that's up right there. I mean. I think that one just shows us equipment pretty much as far as what we're doing. This is going to show the amp dyno.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess
you'll
we'll just
actually
leave
be
it
able
like
to see
this.
the power. Yep.
Cool. I just wanted to get a good shot just in case one of the amps maybe, you know, puffed the Magic Dragon. You know what I mean? Get it on live view.
That ain't going to happen, dude. You know how many times we've tested this?
I bet a bunch.
I've abused them. I've gotten the amps hotter than the load tester.
All right, cool. Well, you guys are at the helm. I'm sitting back. I want to see this.
All right. So in the screen, you can actually see the load tester. It's in the, I guess would be the upright corner. And it's actually a 5-channel model. So what I've done is I actually have 2 Cosmos 5500. Let's see if I can. I'm not going to be able to see it, but go around. So you can see I have two Cosmos 5500s. Right now,
Andy, it looks like Hi-Fi says screen in screen.
Sit back now. You get it working?
What's going on?
He's just kind of showing off his load tester
Yeah.
here and his setup for the amps.
Oh, I thought you were doing a screen in screen. It's all right.
No, you're good. I was just letting them get a good view of your setup you had there while you're walking around. No, you're good. Good. Go ahead, man.
All right, we'll go back around then. You got it up? You gonna show them? You can switch it to my screen. I'll go around and show everything.
Gotcha.
There you go. So what I have right now is I have two 80 amp hour Yingling LTOs or 160, and then I have underneath I have just 4 banks of caps to help hold the power for the amps. The amps are actually strapped, and I'm gonna be running this test in 2 ohm mode. So you can see on the front of the load tester, it's actually a 5-channel. So I've actually got the rear and the sub bridged. So that way we can strap it.
And
That's
let me tell you
awesome,
guys, this is the baddest load tester you will ever see.
Yeah, you can. I can get in here a little bit.
You got plexi on that thing? I see some plexi.
Oh, dude,
that's
you have
nice.
no idea, Andy. He's going to get into it. It's plexi, LED.
Oh man. That is awesome looking.
I'll have to flip through real quick.
I had built a bank with one of those a while back, but I haven't been able to use it in a while. I had built a board.
Let's see.
It was about 2 feet long. It was a massive fuse block board where you could interchange fuses with different blocks to alter the impedance of resistors. You know, so you could go from all kinds of impedance values. I just must swap them.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. This one actually does it through Bluetooth.
on an app on your phone.
Yeah, so I have an app on my phone that I programmed.
That's
So you
crazy.
can do the LED setup, change the LEDs, fans. So if you want to turn the fans on, you can turn them at certain power modes. It also shows the temperature on here too, so you can see what the temperature is of the load bank itself. And then in the tester itself, you've got single channel or multi-channel mode. So you can go up to 5 channels on it. So you can see multi-channel. So you got 2, 3, 4, 5 on here. And you got all sorts of different ways of bridging it. And when you go to 5 channel, you can set each one individually.
Wow. Now, are you going to ever mass produce these? Because I'm going to need one of those.
I think we
No,
have
I'll
enough
make you one.
product to probably do 4
Yeah.
right now, actually.
Wow.
Yep. The hardest thing is to get the resistors. They take forever to get.
Right, and those are just train brakes, correct?
Yeah, they're
the
breaking
cha-
resistors.
Right.
Okay.
All kinds of, even elevators and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
The biggest problem is you want to make sure that you get something with high quality product inside of it, because there is some out there that are cheaper stuff inside.
Especially with
Yeah,
power and heat and things melting. Could go bad quick.
Yep. There are 1,000-watt braking resistors in there, and each one of them is 4 ohms. So then that way I can switch the ohm loads through that, which actually it's programmed through a little Arduino microcontroller. And what it does is
Okay.
I can I use it to trigger all the relays.
Right, to switch the impedances. Nice.
Correct. So like right now I have it set to 2 ohms, and you'll actually see it on the screen when we play it.
Nice. Oh, yeah, here, I mean...
But we could even do it. We could probably do a run at 4 ohms too, just showing that it switches back and forth or whatever.
Oh, we can. So you can see. You can see it too well, but it's set to 2 ohms right now. So if you want to see a little test, I don't know. Do you want to see max power, or do you want to see 1%?
Let's do a certified run. Just so, or I mean, that's up to you, man. I mean, I like the certified runs, but you know, it is cool to see how much power an amp can actually do until, you know, it won't do anymore.
Yes. So these Cosmos amps are rated at 5,500 watts apiece.
Okay.
So we'll set it to 1%.
I mean, I guess we can start off with that, right?
Yeah. Just gonna send it.
Let me start it up. So I have a little, I use my test rig for my car audio competition vehicle. So I just have it sitting here on my table.
Nice.
So the cool thing is the SPL lab's going to show you the frequency. So you'll be able to see what frequency I'm playing to.
Absolutely. And the folks at home, the squiggly stuff on the bottom, is that the O-scope down there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the O-scope. See here, I'm getting ready to do the dyno run now so you can watch it.
That's nice. You know, you don't see that on other meters. Not live. It's nice. Holy... Well, you can hear that amp. Like, no more. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, it ain't even started yet, buddy.
14K at 2 ohms at 1% THD. And that's 2 amp straps, so each one's at 1 ohm?
Two
Each
5,000
amplifier-
rated amps.
Yeah. Yeah, they're 5,500 watt rated amps, and each amp is seeing 1 ohm each.
That's awesome, man. That ain't bad at all. 7K per, man. Heck yeah.
Yep.
Doing a little bit overrated, I'd say. Just a smidge.
Just a little bit.
What the other thing is, I mean, it's not hooked up to a charging system or nothing. So it's just my test rig out of my vehicle. So my batteries and the capacitors is what I use to compete with.
Right.
So it's not like I have any alternators or anything.
Jeez.
So right now it's just charging them back up.
Oh, wow.
Take a couple seconds.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say, what batteries or capacitors are you using? If you said it, I missed it.
It's an 80 amp hour yin long, and I think a bank of super caps is what he said.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the
It's
super
actually-
caps will do.
It's actually 160 amp hour total of yin long. I have two 80 amp hour banks separate.
Who needs charging?
And then 4 banks of caps. Yeah, I have a little 20 amp power supply charging it. It don't take long. They're almost ready.
Wow. That's crazy. A little 20 amp power supply, being able to push 15,000 watts. We'll just say that.
Yeah, look.
That's
You can
awesome.
see it. There it is.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it. That's all it's charging it.
That's the thing with lithium, though. You know what I mean? It just discharges and recharges so fast, and then especially with like super caps, man, even faster. You know, it's just the technology that we're able to use nowadays compared to just a wet cell, lead acid, or AGM battery. It's just hard to compete against. Yeah, the price is a little bit more expensive, but at the end of the day, for the amount you're putting into it, it's better to go with just better electrical, better batteries.
Correct. It's still charging. Go ahead, give it a second.
Oh, come on, man. Here I am talking him up. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna,
Well, I mean,
gonna
he
boost
just
it
did
up.
take 15,000 watts on him, pretty much.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Yep.
I mean, I can sit here and do the same power for a while, but if you want to see a bigger number, I have to juice it up.
Right. I can't even. While we're waiting for you to get charged here, I do have a couple questions that I saved here. And this is a good one right here that I ran into. Matt Wade, thanks for tuning in, man. Is there an upgrade for the alligator clips that come with the clamp kit that we can change to the probe style where you poke the wire? I had to make my own, like stabbies, I call them, you know what I mean? Like regular leads off a multimeter. So I don't know if you guys sell anything like that particularly for that, but I kind of just made my own.
Well, I have an answer for that. You can blame
So what I did is I kind of did the same thing. Sorry, it was...
No, I was going to say that you could blame COVID for that because we was literally about to mass produce them, and then COVID started and put us way behind. We have over 400 probes right here. We've got all the little pieces and stuff to solder together to make them. They're right here. They will not be charged any extra. They will be thrown in with the alligator clips once we start doing it. It's all going to be part of the kit. We ain't going to charge anybody extra for it because we
Nice.
bought them in a very large bulk. So by the time we break it down, I'm not even going to worry about it. But yes, since we got to talk to Kirill, let me go ahead and write that down. That I need to get my ass to solder all the probes together.
So these are the ones that I use, and when I sell a kit through me, I've been adding this as like an upgrade. But these are gold tipped with really nice strain relief.
Oh, that's nice.
Silicone wire, and it's OFC wire. So the probe itself is OFC wire into the end, and then I cut the bananas off and use a gold plated RCA is what I use. The probes also have the threaded probes, so you can screw on any kind of connection that you want to go to them. But these are the best ones that I've found, and they're, like I said, they're top quality, made right here in the USA, but they're also $40 a pair.
And those are the ones I'm getting for free. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that question up because I had the same problem too. Because the alligator clips, they are nice. It's just some people's systems, they make everything so flush. It's like you got to just stab the wire somewhere in order so they can, because a lot of people, at least from my competition team, SP Loud, they're not going out to competitions other than probably my own. And if they do the other ones, they already have their wires ready to go. So when they come up, they got all their system, all nice and clean, and you can't see any wires. And the terminals on the amp sometimes are not conductive, so you can't, fit your Gator clip in there. So the stabbies do work for that. But that is cool that you guys are keeping that involved with the future purchases, which I think is awesome that you guys are doing that. And got another question here. Buddha, thanks for tuning in. Hey, will the clamp attachment work with the old style dual USB base meter Pro? I'm trying to think.
I don't think that one it does. It doesn't have the Ethernet port on it.
No, it does. What it is the original USB meter. And what you talked about, the dual USB meter Pro, they used stock Windows drivers. It would come up in Device Manager called USB audio codec. That no longer exists in any SPL meter. We now use what we call NextLab drivers. So to answer the question, no. NextLab is the only type of tech that we use to support NextLab devices. SPL wideband, RTA, or Next RTA, and then Next Power, AC or DC. So no, it will not work with that. And to speak about DC, when we were speaking about DC a while ago, we don't actively sell DC clamps right now. We do sell a DC through hole sensor, but that's pretty much for bench testing. It's not for customer vehicles. But what Adam's been talking about, the same clamp that he's been using, we have here, and we had tested it some before COVID started, and then it's put us way behind. But the clamp that Adam uses is the clamp that more than likely will start to be marketed with the kits, and they'll be soldered into the boxes too. Every clamp kit has a clamp that's soldered into this AC/DC box, or ADC box, analog to digital. And while you need the box for the clamp, I had thought about making them disconnectable. But I don't think anybody's going to swap AC to DC, because if you have an AC and a DC clamp, you're probably going to want to use them at the same time.
Right. Right.
Inside. But yeah, that's also another thing that's coming. A third thing that's coming that hasn't been mentioned yet that needs to be fixed is a couple years, or actually it's probably a couple years before COVID. Google had updated the Android operating system in a way to bust the NextApp devices from being wired to your Android phone and tablet. Some phones and tablets still work, most of them don't. Basically, they did something like how Apple did, where they to preserve power on the battery, is when you plug up a device, it will only give you so many 100 milliamps, and if it don't get enough, then our devices will not be seen in the software. And that's what was happening. It wasn't giving our devices enough power after an update. So the only devices that would work on an Android would be the wireless base meter. Well, we found a fix, and it's it's weird, but the fix is you need a powered hub ran on a battery, which is kind of weird. But we got the kit here. You would plug up a powered hub to your phone or tablet, and it provides max output on the phone or tablet. But you don't. But you may not have a place to plug in the wall. So we bought cables that, because the hubs will work on 5-volt DC. So you see where I'm going. The USB hub is powered off of a power bank, to then get our meters to work again on Android. Now, I don't know if Google's fixed it, but it's been like that for at least 2 or 3 years now. So if they fixed it, then we won't have to, offer the kits. But it really screwed us, when they did that.
Jeez.
But we never offered them because we never had them ready for bulk packaging.
Right. Right.
COVID, had set us way behind too.
Makes sense,
So,
man.
and on these DC clamps, this is 68 millimeter right here. It's either 10 or 11 1/0 can fit in this. I don't remember the exact number.
Right.
That's a lot of odds.
Exactly. And something, Shane, that just so you know, they used to rate these at, let's see if I can get at 2,000 amps DC. Woo. All the newer ones, when you get them, they're actually only rated at 1,500 amps now.
Wow, that's crazy. Why the difference?
Now we do have a limit. If I'm not mistaken, I think our software is only limited to 1,200 amps per clamp.
1,200 amps. Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's the good thing to have that multiplier in there.
That's why we got the multiplier in there, was for that. So these guys with 10 amps or whatever, we can just clamp one and multiply it by 10, and that's why that's why this new software has it in there.
Speaking of amps, you ready to see the next dyno?
Let's do it.
Are we gonna unleash on this one or what?
Yeah, I've been getting impatient waiting for you guys.
Hey, we got 6 hours tonight. We got plenty of time, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, dude, I gotta work at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Who needs sleep?
I don't sleep very much anyway.
Say, man, it's terrible. All right,
dude, I literally, Krill being 9 hours off, dude, it's, our conversations start at 3 in the morning. So and when I'm talking to him for 3 hours, 3 in the morning is 6 in the morning. I'm talking him up to going to work, and yeah.
So I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's starting at 15.74 volts.
Woo.
Dude, I told you, hook up the other clamp for DC and just put the power probes in there.
All right, ready?
Let's do it.
Oop, wrong one, other one. There you go.
All right, here we go.
Holy. Okay, so that was the uncertified, 4.6% THD at 2 ohms, 1 ohm per amp. Wow.
Yeah, and
There you go.
then you can see, cool. I don't know if you can see it or not, it's 13.49 volts.
That ain't bad. I mean, 14 volts, that's crazy. That's a lot of power. Now, question. We know this amp does 7, 8K at 1 ohm. Certified, uncertified. How much does it cost?
That I'm not sure of. I would contact Cosmos Audio direct. You can call Electronic Plus or go on the website.
Yeah. I mean, you got, what, 3 sets of 1/0 inputs on there, so you know that amp's going to do some power. That's pretty impressive. But the SPL Lab software, I like how everything is displayed right in front of you. It shows your actual watts, your volt amps without, your whole float power and stuff like that. And then since you're doing a resistive load and not a reactive, is that why you see the 1 right there, the 1.00?
So that is called cosine.
Okay.
And cosine should always be 1.
Okay.
That's your power factor, correct?
Yep. And that going back to the other competitor stuff, that is a main factor in that other system. Even on a load resistor, you can't never ever get it up 0.96. It's never one, ever.
Wow.
This right here is the main reason why I bought the SPL lab. Is because when I started building my first load tester to test the amplifiers, because what I like to do is I like to dial them in before I stick them in the car.
Right.
And using the load bank, it doesn't make any noise. So I can sit out here and do it for hours and it doesn't disturb anybody. So
Yeah, I know. Whenever I'm dynoing something, you know, the neighbors know, oh, that guy's he's doing something in his room again. It's terrible, but it's cool.
Right,
I like seeing the speakers moving.
and using the load bank, I mean, it shows the power factor of 1. The other meter that I've had for forever would never get to the 1. So
1700 per amp. It looks like somebody posted in the chat.
See, that's not bad though. I mean, long as it lasts. But I mean, I'm saying that's not bad because, you know, price on amplifiers per power definitely has went down. But I mean, for a 7-8K amplifier, you know, for under $2,000, that's not bad. I mean, that sounds right about there, honestly. And then if you're paying anything less, is it going to last?
So I got one for you. So if you call Electronic Plus and you ask for the manager, his name is Johnny Arnez, and you tell him I sent you, he will take care of you.
Nice. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say what kind of deal you'll get, but you'll be happy.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Big time. Big time.
So the other thing was, when I was testing the amplifiers originally, I had the other system, and it wasn't quite reading right. So I got the AMM1 and hooked it up, and the AMM1 was reading 1 every time. But the AMM1 only goes up to 150 volts. So
right, that's what I've been hearing. Yeah.
Right. And it'll read over 150 volts, but it's not accurate at all. And you can go right on Dearmore Engineering's website or Steve Meads or whatever, and you'll see it has the specs on there: 150 volts, 100 amps. So I wanted something that could actually read more. So when I'm doing the strapping the amps, I wanted something that could read it and read it accurately. So that's why I got the SPL lab.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, what's next, guys?
And up to that 150 volts, the AMM1 is dead on up to it. But again, the screen share is the hard thing. Like you guys doing dynos, it's it's the SPL apps, you can see it. So next, I mean, really the only other thing that I wanted to get into a little bit was like the event mode and possibly how to build a league and like go through some of the event stuff that we've added.
Awesome. Let me get you up there.
Could I comment a couple things about the power real quick before you go into the event mode?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Just like with any hardware and software, there is limits, to our stuff. When it comes to a frequency measuring power, you can use our kits to measure, your full range amplifiers, but there will be a limit as to when it would be accurate. The power will be accurate, but the distortion is not based on how you're measuring. And it's not in the manual, but the limitations are as follows. Our total harmonic distortion readings will be accurate all the way up to 1 kilohertz. Once you surpass 1 kilohertz, the accuracy starts to linearly drop from 1 kilohertz to 5. When you hit 5 kilohertz, THD readings will be obsolete completely. But anything after 1 is not accurate.
Makes sense why it goes kind of all over the place whenever nothing's playing, because it's reading things obviously above that 1K range.
And then when you do have the SPL software window open, no matter what you're doing, there's always 3 sections to the software. There's the top, which is what people mainly look at. There's the middle, which is the L-scope. And then the bottom, which if you're doing power, will show graphs of what your volt, amps, and wattage, and VA, and all this doing, and your impedance. Or if you're just measuring SPL, it shows you your amplitude graph. those 3 sections are undockable. So if you don't care for all that, let's say that you wanted to watch what Matt was doing, but only the top part, you could undock it and blow it up in full screen and get rid of the other 2 sections of the software, which would do good if you was using like a secondary monitor. That way the people can see the things way bigger than having all the software open all the time.
Absolutely.
And
which is super helpful in the event mode. I was going to show that when we get into the event mode. That's why I didn't show it in the other stuff.
And one other thing that if y'all don't know yet, then y'all are going to kill me because you probably would never go to sleep. But did you know that you can use the power clamp modes in more modes than just the power mode?
Yeah, you can use it in the RTA mode.
Yes.
I've used it obviously in the SPL, not the RTA. I've never really, I don't think I can try SQL because I don't have the event stuff, or if I did, I never actually used it because I didn't have the proper microphones, like the other stuff.
Do you know what the purpose is of using the power clamp in the RTA mode? And this has nothing to do with sound. We're only using the power clamp for RTA. You think RTA is for full range audio. No. When you put the power clamp into RTA mode, when you have your probes or your voltage clips connected to an amplifier, what you can then now do is actually measure the output response of your amplifier. It's nothing to do with output power. This is purely distortion and the rail voltage. So you can sit there and watch on a graph, like if you play a really slow sweep, and this is no load, you don't have to have a load on it. You can sit there and watch how flat your amplifier is all the way across, the board, the frequency range. You can sit there and see if there's any dips or peaks in your response before you put speakers on it.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
You can see if your total harmonic distortion changes from frequency to frequency. Maybe certain ranges the amplifier is not as clean. You can see all this to see if your amplifier is doing some weird things.
Wow, that makes sense. It's almost like checking the quality of the amplifier and see if there's any imperfections. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can also use the power mode to set your gains.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. Because that's what people were like, hey, what's the best option? I'm like, honestly, if you got the money and you're in this hobby, an SPL lab with the clamp and the meter is the best thing you're ever going to need, because then you won't need a DD1. You won't need a no-scope. It's already got one built into it, and you can set your gains with it. You know what I mean? It's an all-in-one package.
And that's why it's the ultimate meters. It's everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
it does competitions. It does the power mode. It does. What he just talked about. To checking out the amplifier's ability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can set the gain at different frequencies. You don't have to set it at 40 hertz.
No, not at all.
So like for me, like my Blazer likes to play at about 53 hertz. So I will tweak the amps right to the 53 hertz range.
Boom. So you're getting the most power because, sometimes maybe the gain could go up a little bit because of the frequency. And like, Sean said with amps, maybe there might be a dip there and you're not even realizing it and you might be losing power. You know what I mean? If you play everything as clean as you could. Obviously, when we're competing, we got that volume past where it's set. You know what I mean? Just a little bit more power.
Well, loading, the amplifier, when you set the gains on the amplifier, you set it unloaded.
Right.
The amplifiers react differently when it's loaded.
Yep.
Hence, you can see, I actually had it set up beforehand. I probably should have showed it, but I had it set up beforehand using the SPL lab to set the gains. And then once you unload it, or once you put it under load, you can see the distortion will spike up.
Absolutely.
And that power mode in this thing is unbelievably high. Me and Matt have personally clamped 30K out of it so far. I think that's our high. Was it 28, Matt?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
28,900 or something is what we've got to so far, and it wasn't even half of the voltage of what it's capable of. So this thing could probably easily get up into the 60-80K range realistically.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
They are capable of measuring the Brazilian high volt amps. Not all.
We did a 30K. We did a Teramps 30K.
The limitations of the clamp is 400 volts AC, 300 amps AC.
Right.
It's a lot of gigawatts.
I mean, most amplifiers can't even do that.
No, I mean, not unless they're quadruple strapped or whatever.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
else
So
you got
this is
for us,
something you
Adam?
haven't seen here, Andy. This is the event mode right here. The first screen that pops up is this. This is the newer version of it. I'm assuming it's going to be released pretty soon. But it's real similar when you go into it with what most people have right now. So if you want to start a new event, basically just right here. I'm going to continue an event that we already have people in here. So when you continue it, it pops up with this screen here. And oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh, whose noise is that?
What
Hold
is
on.
going on?
That's me. I just got an Amber Alert.
I was just gonna say that sounds like an
no.
Amber Alert. So in here, once you do this, so I just popped up this event that I had here, right? Already, you can bring up multiple events. So we can go into, another one here. Let's see. I think that's the one I had in there. So this one, we can bring up 2 or 3 events at one time, meaning that we can run Mecha, we can run NADBL, we can run 4 or 5 different leagues. Like this is Basehead Life demo that I was, just practicing. Big shout out to James White out there at Basehead Life, man. If you guys aren't on that group, go get on it. He's a good guy out there. I've built.
I was gonna say one of the better. I was gonna say it's one of the better, bigger Facebook groups. We'll say
absolutely, man. He's semi-local to me, and I've got him into SPL Labs now, and we built his league into this. So, if you're doing a show, you want to do your team SPL Loud and Mecha at the same time. You can run both of these at the same time. So which whenever you click on will change your background here into that league, and you can go into your competitors for that league. So, just minimizing a window simply will drop the one league, you can go into the other league. So you can measure the same person in 2 or 3 different leagues at the same time.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm going to need that. Absolutely, man.
So once we're in here, I did it again. Once we're in here, the add button is right here. Pretty simple. It brings up, I just made up some names here, of course. You can put in your competitor, select your classes that you want, whatever class that you want. This is where the Mecha and Basehead Life, I think they're the only 2 that use cone area, where you can select your, 4 woofers or 3 woofers or whatever, and it'll give you your cone area. Basehead Life actually is metric, so instead of imperial numbers.
Centimeters. Oh wow.
Yes, yeah. So, and then you just add your competitor, which I'm not going to add one because I already have it here, and then it'll come up here. Pretty much after that, you basically just click on who you want to run, and your play button's right here. When you press the play button, I'd have to change my. I don't have the SPL meters up. When you do it, it drops the screen down and goes to your competitor screen right here.
Wow.
And this is where Shane was talking about, where you can drop the O scope down and or
rolling it up, right?
Rolling it up, rolling it down, whatever you want to do.
I remember in the beginning when I first got my SPL lab, I just had everything out, and I didn't realize I could roll it up. And when you roll it up, just so it looks like how you have it now, it's a little bit more appeasing to the eye, especially when people are in the lanes and they just want to see the big number we all care about, and that's the dBs. So.
Right. So, and which, speaking of that, I don't know if you use this or not, but let me get to here. We just actually changed this right here. This turn on window right here. This is in regular mode as well. What this does is it actually turns on your second screen.
You mean for like when you have it hooked up to a TV or something to display?
It's a second TV. It'll show it. There. Let me turn my light off. You might be able to see it.
Oh, I can zoom in on you there so we can see your setup you got behind you there. Is that what you wanted, or no?
Well, no. If you look behind me in my camera mode, yeah, you can see that screen back there. So the major window screen, it puts up your second display, so you can turn.
Oh, okay. So you still got that, but then on your actual display, you see what the competitors want to see, and that's it. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, that's awesome.
So it goes into the dual monitor for competitors.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah, so they don't see everything that you're just, screen sharing in a way. They get just literally the competitors and their score only. That's nice.
Exactly. And it just reads the dB, your power, what class, their name, just basic stuff for them, so they don't see the judge's screen.
That's awesome. One thing that I want to know, because I don't have the event for the SPL lab. I know it's off topic a little bit, but the term lab, they have it for at least Mecca. Whenever you're not metering someone and it's like a standby mode, it will show the results of each class so far that have competed. Would you guys be able to make something like that in the future? I thought that was really cool.
So there is we're working on it. Yes.
Okay.
There
awesome.
is right over here by so there's the minimize window. What the minimize window does is when you press play for a competitor, it drops the window so you can see the judging screen.
Okay.
Turn on window turns on your second display, or you can mirror the screen. This shop top 3 right here will show when you click it after the run on the competitor screen. It shows the top 3. I have talked to Krill about this, about either making it to be its own window and show each class for each class, each competitor in each class, and show that. Yes, we are working on that. We currently have it for the top 3 of the class that the competitor is in when you do it. We are working more on that. But it's one of those things that it's still, back to what me and Shane were talking about. We have 800 things going on, and you just can't get it all.
No, that's awesome, though.
But it's there. The shop top 3 is there, so you can see the 3 of that specific class.
The thing that we have talked about recently is it would be easier for Kirill to do the same method of sharing real-time results across all the leagues. Now, in terms of the format and stuff, I'm sure that'll change. But the premise idea is basically you would have to have the internet there, and the idea is just to constantly upload results to someone's server, that's set up to do so. So the spectators would just pull out their phones, reload the web page, until they see the results. Now, in terms of how often that should be updated, that's up to the judge. That's up to the league coordinator. That would have nothing to do with us. It would be designed to be pushed to the internet, to a specific server. But in terms of how many times, that's up to whoever's controlling it.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Not being used yet, but it is coming. It is a talk that is going to happen. But in terms of how it's going to happen, I don't think that he's on that page exactly as to do it like right now. He ain't coding it, but I guarantee you that it is one of the top things that is going to happen, because more and more people who run shows want SPL Lab, and we can't ignore the competition side. So it's not something that's just been talked about. It is going to happen. It's just I don't know when.
You want me
That's
to tell you
awesome,
when?
Oh,
I have it right now.
Adam probably. Oh, well, then there you go.
Oh, snap.
Adam has the future beta version right now.
I do. So in the same screen that we're in, go ahead and put me back up here.
Gotcha.
And I've tested it, and that's why I have 3 PCs set up here right here next to me, as I've already tested it. It's not necessarily live time yet, but it is this right here, DV Sync. Okay? When I click that and another judge, let's say Matt had it, I was actually supposed to send it to Matt and we were going to show this, and I just haven't got him the file yet. When you click that, it syncs my database into the server, and then when Matt on his side hits sync, it will upload my database to him and resync his to mine. Now, what we can also do is in DV Sync, is I can start an event, click DV Sync, and then Matt goes in, opens up an event, clicks DV Sync, and then he can continue on his side. And every time you click this sync, it'll sync mine to the other judge and the judge back to me every time that we click it. So if you're running, so let's say 2 or 3 judges, on my screen, everything that I run in competitor mode will be my standard colors. As far as like right here, so this is, my competitors. As when I click sync and I upload from, let's say, Matt, his competitors will come into this and they will show in red. So we know who is from a different location, but it incorporates it all into one database, so we can run multi-shows from different
I know. I was just going to say
locations.
that's kind of perfect, especially for maybe Base Wars, since they do have it all over the place, and obviously other organizations too. But I really think that's awesome. So you can have people competing against Pennsylvania versus New York, and they're all in one pool. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're the biggest fish in the pond. The pond got a little bit bigger by being able to do that in a way if you wanted to. I think that's really cool.
Do you know
Right.
what the average file size is for a DB sync?
The what?
The average file size for DB sync? I mean, it's a small.
It's just the database file. It's super tiny, dude. It on the old server that Krill had, it was very slow. It was taking us 10 minutes because it was in Russia, and it was a really slow server. He just switched servers to France. It is fast. I can DB sync from one computer to the other, and we're talking 20 seconds before it gets back and forth from my PC out to France and back into my other PC. 20 seconds, not even that.
That's crazy
That's
fast.
good. I was just curious though, because some people's internet, may be really low depending on what part of the area at they're in. But yeah, if it's small, then that'd be great.
So it would be, let's see, what's it under? Event mode. It would be this file right here, and currently is 10 kilobytes.
Oh my God.
I don't have a lot of competitors in here, but even that, like my full show, it's not even a megabyte, dude. It's
Wow.
super tiny. Because it's not transferring the whole database, it's only transferring the information in the database.
That file's so small that we could have the software back in the AOL days and still be fine.
Right, because you're not transferring software. You're only transferring this file in people's things. And as far as being in different locations, if we want to get into, competitor versus competitor, we can basically do screen share like what we're doing right here, right now in StreamYard to share competitor stuff. We don't need to do it through where there's a bunch of lag or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So in here, you click your competitors, press start, goes through, it gives you the readings. This little button right here brings up individual competitor stats. So if you do 6 or 8 or 10 runs, you'd have all of your runs. If you have a failure of refereeing, here you can dismiss a reading and write a comment in or whatever. And this right here is extractable. so you can extract all competitors. Once you're done with an event, have all your stuff in here, this export right here exports this data file into, it's not event mode, it is, let's see where we're at, into export file. This export file right here is of our event, which if you open it up, it basically just shows it in a table. What you can also do with this, which is cool, is you can bring up a notepad and you take this extract of your competition, put it into a notepad, and now we're all in HTML. You can code it any way you want, as far as, you know, separate it out, do different colors. I mean, HTML it's old coding, but it's super useful. Like, you can do almost anything with it. Once you have this, then it is simply going to, let's see.
Looks kind of like hieroglyphics, you know, if you just look at it real quick.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing with it, absolutely it does. I'm going to close, actually I didn't want to close that one. I want to close some of these down so I can see.
That's what these next human civilization or alien civilization will find 10,000 years from now. They'll be digging underneath the ground and find
exactly.
Because, oh my goodness, there was measuring things. They were very good. That's still not.
Yeah, I want that one. So you can take this notepad file right here, copy it, and I'm just going to drop it into, oh, I forgot, you can't just move it all, you actually got to copy it into one of my web pages here. I'll just paste it into here, and come on. My computer's really slow for 1 gigabyte service, dude. My internet is slow as hell.
It's because you're not using Ethernet cables. You're just using Wi-Fi. Come on, man.
There's your results for web display. Now, we've also added power mode into events. And what we're going to start doing is extracting this data from SPL Labs and start a web page with all kind of amplifier dynos and not just dynos, but 1% uncertified, but also reactive loads in car testing, so we can compare. I know you guys were talking about this on Rolling Thunder a little bit. Compare those to each other from dyno versus other things, and I'm working on a thing for us. So simple, easy extraction. You can do anything you want with it, pretty much.
That's awesome. Now, would that work with Mecha too? Like, say if you're trying to send the information, you'd be able to send it up to, you know, do all that kind of stuff just as easy, right? Pretty much, you have a way to do it.
Right. So DB Sync, there's two parts of it. So Mecha, let's say Mecha has, Bud has this, and you use it, and you run a Mecha license through SPL Labs, and he runs a Mecha license through SPL Labs. When you sync, it only syncs as location to location for one database share if it's named the same or you continue it. If you sync it to his, and his is the main one, you send your database to him. He can take what I just did basically and dump it into his website for everybody's results for that competition.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, do you have any training videos on these?
I was just going to throw that up. I started that one.
There you go. I'm watching.
So I have one as far as the setup. I'm actually probably going to use some of this live stuff right here to probably make my next one. I'm very weak in the video editing area. I'm just learning. So I will be doing it here pretty soon. Through this winter, I think I can probably manage to throw a couple out there. And yes, that's what we want to. We're working on. And even Shane's mentioned that the ones that are out there, outdated, and we are definitely doing that. Yes, and I do a lot of my testing that I do in R&D for this stuff. I actually record my screen, and I have tons and tons and tons of video. I just got to put it all together.
That's the fun part.
Yeah. That editing takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does, especially when I got, 3-4 hours a night for 3 years now, and it's just like, I could barely find time just to go have dinner.
Hey, Adam, I had a question for you. When you set up a class that uses that new target frequency with the coefficient, option on it. Once you set the class up and then create, let's say, 50 members, once the class is set up, if I remember correctly, it's impossible to alter the rules of the class once the competition event has started, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
And that was one of the next things I was going to get into, is how to build a class and what is involved in with that.
Well, the point I was getting to is that I wanted people to make sure that they've seen, before now that you're able to handicap, the score readings for certain intentional purposes. We didn't put that in there for people to cheat. Just because it's there don't mean that it can be used to cheat with. Once the rules of a class are set, if so-and-so's doing a 150 and you don't do a 150, it's not because someone found a way to cheat. It's because you really didn't do a 150.
Correct.
You ain't loud, bro. That's why.
Gotta be living loud.
Yeah.
Have to.
No other way. So you're going to be setting up the event now? Is that what you're doing here? Or
yeah, I was gonna bring up. So right here is new league.
Okay.
Okay, that's why I just shut everything down and pulling it back up to do that. New league starts off here. Let's name it Live in Loud. Oh, I guess I better be on the right keyboard, right? Having three computers here, and haven't been using this one. So Live in Loud. Logo, we can just throw in any logo. I don't think I even have anything on this computer. This is a freshly built computer. I don't even have a lot of drivers in this one yet. Yeah, I don't have one. So you can put your logo in here, and it'll come up just like all these other ones here. You can scale it. You can put a password on it. This gets to what Shane was just talking about. So when we build a league for somebody, we password it. The league owner gets the thing. And I've realistically, anybody can build this. We're going to go through here and we're going to build a league right now with 6 or 8 classes. Let's build power mode class. This is very simple. It's got very, very basic stuff in it. So you don't have to have a measurement time. We can, we're going to name the class amps. We can round it to as many decimals as we want for you. Qualifying class. What this means, I only use this qualifying class in an actual qualifying class. And the reason why is when you make a run for a competitor, if this is clicked, it pops up a screen that says class qualifying. And then what you do is you get a drop down to position them into what class that you want to put them in. So say they're in, wall 10K or whatever. A qualifying class allows you to select that. If you don't have that selected, it'll always continue with that class. It'll stay on that class. So I only ever do it when we do a qualifying class, which we're not going to do right now. Again, back to the VA, we want watts, of course, AC mode, and we're just going to do max, and then we'll do DC max again, and we're going to add the class. So now we have the class. We can add a second class, and we'll just say, amps 5K, and this is what I'm going to work on this. So that the whole dyno thing that we were just talking about, this power mode, we just actually put this power mode in here, and it's working good. So there's your second class. Now let's say that's just a power mode. So let's say we just want to do some sort of weird amplification dyno runs in a class. If you want an SPL class, lots more options. Again, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever. We'll add a qualifying class to this one. Here's all the meters that can actually use and run this. It's not just a next USB or an LCD meter.
Wow.
There's lots of ones you can use for this, and you can unselect ones if you don't have like something that's power probe capability or whatever. Peak hold, I always turn it on because you want your
right.
peak SPL hold. Frequency.
Otherwise, you're turning it on last minute, like, oh, you got to run it again. I had the
got to do it again. Well, once you make this class and you get in an event, you can't do that. You have to close the whole event down, come back and change it in here, and then get back into it.
No fun there.
All right. So frequency, let's say we don't want anybody going over 60 hertz. Peak detection. This is back to that frequency thing that I was telling you in the SPL earlier. Allow 2 channels or more. It's basically, if you don't allow 2 channels, you can have 1 channel. That's it. If you allow it, you can have up to 4 on SPL, or 2 SPL with 2 clamps. Again, the calibration type, I select a Magnum for everybody in here for every leak that I've built so far. Let's see, tone counter. This is where you would use this in like base brawling or park and pound and all those. And you can select your duration. So if you wanted to go 5 seconds, for 3 times, and then what it'll do is if you play those tones for more than, well, I said 4 seconds 3 times, it'll red bar you.
Okay.
And then this is where that coefficiency is, that let's say 30 hertz, and it adds 1. Hybrid mode is where you go to SQL. If you go to SQL, it gives you the spectrum mode, which is your 1/3 resolution. You can select other resolutions if you want. Typically, most people use the power mode because we're all just running clamps. So wattage, peak hold again, we want peak hold. Now power limit. So this is where your power class is going to come in for amplification. So 2,000 watts.
Right.
Cone calculation. What these are, this is so you can minus and or add your calculation to your bottom score or your top score. So for Mecha, it takes it off the top score, right?
Yeah, they add it right before you even run. Like before you turn your volume up, say you got 215s, it says 353.
So it automatically. So what you would do then is you would want plus area on your bottom side. So I'm gonna have to change that in the Mecha League that I'm building right now.
Awesome.
Because I had it on the top side where it was 2,000, where I was minusing the like 300 watts or whatever. So at 1,700 is where it would red bar. But so what it looks like, what we'll have to do is plus it on the bottom side here. So it'll start out at 300, and then you top out at 200. And we're going to name this class Trunk 1.
Yeah, I think they do it that way just so, everyone's like, oh, well, I'll only clamp 1,700 watts or 1,650. And it's like, well, that's your cone area.
That's your cone area, right.
Yeah, I think they just do that just so people are like, oh, I did 2,000 watts, and then that's your power class. Or that too, more power.
So
whenever I first metered, I thought I was doing 1,800 watts. No, I was doing like 1,500.
Right. So once we build this and you put a password on it, absolutely, Shane, it's nobody can, as long as they're using that league file and not making up their own, then yes, absolutely. But we'll know because when it comes in, it says what, I can look into the database and see exactly what class it is. And then basically you can just save this, and now we have Living Loud right here.
Nice. Now, it
And-
seems like it's a process, but once it's done, it's done. You don't have to go back. It's in your computer, set, saved.
Right, and I can send you the file, and you can send the file to Matt, and whatever you're using.
That's awesome.
Yeah, any of us can do it. So now when I go into event mode here, I'm going to create a new event, and I can go into this, and now we have Live and Loud, with SPL Lab is your event caption, and your referee is going to be Matt. And now we started a league, and it is a new league. And then we can add in our competitors, and it saves everybody you enter in here. If you just enter something in.
I was going to say it saves the competitor. So, like, say you do have another show, you can go in there and just kind of almost search their name, and it'll pop up, and then you don't have to type all their information again.
Right, and when you start getting 10, 15, 20, 30 competitors, you can just put in, like, MA, and it's going to bring up all, it's going to organize it all, so it's going to show everybody at top who starts with an MA.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right, so it never goes away. Ever. So we'll just save this competitor with 912, which is 900 and whatever, and then we can just measure the competitor, which is in power mode, so it would just run that. Hi, honey.
What amplifier are you measuring?
You like that?
1.21 gigawatts right there.
Yeah, again, that's because I don't have a clamp hooked in, actually. In the DC, for some reason, it just tanks it because it doesn't have that battery to hold calibration.
I can't. I love it whenever, I meter someone, they already see their score, and, like, I bump the meter, and then it goes up to, like, 170 something or 160 at, like, 10 hertz on, and it's, like, crazy amount of power, and it's like, something's
that's
loose there.
fixed in the new update, Andy. That's fixed in the new update. Yes.
What?
Yes. We figured out what it was. It was a data spike on first connection or disconnection.
Yeah.
So when you first plug in the meter and you run like your first competitor, it'll show like 127 or 170 or whatever. That is fixed now.
That is awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome.
Yep. We chased that. I thought it was the cables. I thought it was poor quality Ethernet cables or too long because I was running some longer cables than
25
stock.
footers. Same. Yeah.
Right. And so that data spike, anytime you run it now, when you press this measure button right here, the play button or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
You'll notice now in the new update, there's a small delay, and what that does is when you press it, it resets everything back to nothing for after that data spike, so that data spike doesn't happen anymore.
That is insane. Well,
Yep.
at least they got people like you to figure it out too, which is just awesome. It's like a big team, It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely a huge team. I mean, it takes all of us to figure it out for sure.
And I was kind of laughing inside when you was going through the creating a league for people who don't, or for people who are not a part of a league but are looking to just create their own shows. You would not believe how customizable that the software is. You're not locked into just copycatting someone else's league rules. You can literally create so many different variations of classes that it's just it's funny. What all that you can do.
Sorry, guys. I'm just reading the comment section.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Hey, there was one comment in there asking if you guys had any SPL labs in stock.
I do. I have 4 in stock. I got 4 next USBs, probably 4 SPL meters, and I think 6 or 8 clamps.
Woo! Got enough?
He's got more clamps than what's that say? What that comment say on the SPL lab units? What? I just seen something pop up. Something about a global shortage or something.
I've made sure that we're not going to have a global shortage on clamps right now, right, Shane?
Yeah. Now, see, Adam actually has more clamps than I do right now, but that's only because something got held up in a customs, but it's supposed to be alleviated Monday. So hopefully I should get the new batch in because I've got less than 5 left right now. But once they come in, I'll have infinity of everything. So it don't matter if it's customers ordering, dealers stocking up. Just we have everything.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because it seems like every company's having a problem, just getting things in and be able to give their products to their consumers.
Well,
so
see, I'll
that's
tell you, we're not hit with the same problems that the other people are having. Most problems that are occurring is people who are using ocean freight, and once they're dumped into the United States, no carrier wants to pick it up because they're all because it's a bidding war. When you do ocean freight, you have to have an 18-wheeler, pick up your stuff and take it to wherever, unless your warehouse is literally at the port, which you're lucky if it is.
Yeah.
But so if you're not actually at the port, then you have to wait for a bidding war before someone decides, well, I guess I'll do it for that price, and then come get it. Nobody wants to do it. It just sits there, for months. See, our stuff is so small. We don't do ocean freight. It's not like we're importing speakers. That would take up a lot of.
Yeah, you can do air stuff. Air, yeah.
Yeah, we always do air, and it doesn't matter if SPL Lab exploded to where there was one in like every other household. We constantly rotate in like shipment cycles, and when COVID was going on, our sales skyrocketed. And what else are you going to do? You're locked in only doing certain things. So car audio, went up, and so,
right.
When we first seen it, I told Kirill, I go, and I literally told him this word for word. I go, Kirill, I need you to start making these particular products every month, and do not stop until I tell you to. I go, whatever that is. I go. I don't care how many you ship, just keep them coming. I keep them coming, and it was wild, during the height of COVID, like when COVID was still new.
Right.
But now with this entire point of this video, we're showing how to use SPL, showing how judges use it. We're going to keep getting bigger, and because of that, we have to keep on innovating and keep on importing more and more products. So whenever you find out, that we're out of stock on something, that should be very briefly. I mean, we're not.
Right.
If the customer knows that we're out of stock, it's not a shock to us that we're out of stock. We knew it. And
yeah.
And typically we can get stuff from Russia in 6 days. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks.
Not bad.
During COVID, it was taking 3 months because of shipping problems. Because everybody wanted to ship and nobody wanted to work. That had nothing to do with ocean freight. But and then sometimes, they lose their packages, and but that doesn't matter. Let them get lost all they want. They always turn up. No lie. 6 months later, but we're not waiting 6 months for them. If they get lost after 3 weeks, they're shipped again, and they're shipped again, and they're shipped again until they finally get here. So we don't have any excuses for if it's the carrier's fault, our fault. We're getting the stuff done, regardless. So,
absolutely.
I just put in my stocking order with Shane, so on top of what I got more coming in as well. So, like he said, I'm pretty confident that we're not going to run out for a minute. In fact, I got another order to put in for you, Shane. I'll get a hold of you here in the next couple of days.
By the way.
Yeah, so, and it's going to be a decent one, yeah, for sure. So,
nice.
Probably about 100 clamps.
Just 100?
Yeah.
We
got to stock up for tax season, dude. It's going to go nuts here in the next 2-3 weeks. We're just going to be crazy.
Yep, I'm going to need that DC clamp. Tax season.
I have those in stock too. I have 3 or 4 of the 1200 amp, I guess we'll say.
I don't need nothing big, man. I
have a bunch of 600 amp. I have a bunch of 600 amp ones too. I have probably 10 or 15 of those right now in stock as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have to hit you up later.
For the super big amps, that can pull over 1200 amps.
Yeah.
I have talked to Kirill about what we can do, but but I don't think he's interested in doing anything different with the devices because that ADC box that's connected to clamp is what the limit is in terms of the 1200 amp limit. So basically, if you've got something pulling, I don't know, 2500 amps, you know, or let's say 2400, that you are going to have two DC clamps, you know, at least
Well,
one.
I think with the multiplier that we just added into this new update, it's not going to matter.
Well, the only thing that I don't like about the multiplier is that it assumes, you know, for example, if you take an amplifier that has 3 power cables, let's take that Cosmos amp. I pretty much bet, you know, that if you take a normal ammeter and put it around each cable, that the amps are not going to be even. And
it's not, but at the same time, like, it's going to be close enough.
Right, or someone could sandbag you, you know, turn 1 amp down, okay, make you clamp that one, and then meanwhile their other amp is turned full tilt boogie, and they're cheating, trying to get an extra half a dB because they can get twice the power out of whatever. You know, I could just see it happening, but honestly, does it really happen? No.
Andy does make a good point about that, and I have never found a solution to stop the users from cheating. You know, like that. And I don't know how to do it. I mean, I could say you got to have all your amplifier inputs and outputs accessible. Well, you can't do it if you got 50 amps in a Pinto. You know,
Right.
so you gotta, so you can't say that to somebody. And I don't know really how to do it. I've never figured that out.
Maybe a flux capacitor will fix it all. Just put it in there.
I mean, if you can't get to the amps, maybe you can get to the speakers, you know.
Right.
But then again,
Right.
but then
And then
again,
yeah.
you'll be putting hardware into the wall, and who knows if that'll get damaged, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, if they don't have their subs inverted in like some kind of 4th or 6th order or whatever they got going on, and maybe they don't have their wires right by their amp, everything's flush mounted. You know, there are some people that are like that where it's like you can't even clamp them. But then that goes into the whole thing where you're running against people that have unlimited power, you know, and then it's just not built for SPL. So where do you draw that line? Like, hey, you have to have everything accessible or you can't compete, or just let it slide and you know, let people just enjoy it.
I think realistic, this is where some of the rules come in, like, you know, cone area, but sometimes, like you said, you can't see the woofers, but even at that, like, 2 conductor rule, where you can only have the 2 wires, like, on the AC side, that's fine. Most of us are on the DC side. We're not going to be clamping the DC side for competition, I don't think, for the most part. Maybe to see efficiency, maybe on a bench test, things like that. You could do it in competition, but I just don't think it's realistic, honestly.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard to get speaker cables accessible. I mean, you know, they're never big. You know, even if you had the most stealth install, you know, back when I used to compete about 13 years ago, that you still had to have the cables accessible to measure. They had to make sure that the cables were attached to car audio equipment. You know, and you're not cheating, not have extra amps hidden somewhere. You know,
Right,
so
right.
it's not hard. I mean, I would disagree with somebody who said I'm all in it for competition only, and let's say that to make the best of my power, my speaker cables need to be 4 gauge and they need to be no longer than 8 feet. And you want to access my cables, so well now they got to be 15 feet. You know, I'd be like, well, guess what? 4 gauge is never going to degrade. You know, no matter how much power you're running. But if you think it is, then up it to 2 gauge or something. I mean, there's always a way around that. You know,
Right.
Speaker cables are small, you know, so they should be always accessible regardless.
I feel like 4 gauge is overkill for speaker wire unless you have it over a long distance or literally 20,000 watts of power. You know what I mean?
I used to run my 10K on 14 gauge, dude. Like, AC voltage doesn't need that. I mean,
it's low current.
Right. It really is. Choke Change asked a question: is the 414 version better? No. Does it have other option? Yes. That's the
Which one's that
Wi-Fi. It's the Wi-Fi meter that I believe he's talking about.
Yeah.
So the Wi-Fi meter, if you hook it to the computer, you can use the same software. You can also Wi-Fi it to your phone and use the Android software or the iOS software. You can plug one other device into it, whether it be a second SPL sensor or a clamp or whatever else. Now, the biggest thing that I've found with it is the battery life. It doesn't last very long, especially for competition. If you are using it for personal use, it's great. So is it better? No. Is it for you better? Maybe. If you want wireless, if you want to use it on an Android, yes, absolutely. But if you're wanting to do competition and you want hardwire, the next USB is what I pretty much promote, and probably the only thing I buy from you, right, Shane?
Bada bing, bada boom.
Whenever someone asks me, is something better than another, only when we're talking about SPL Lab, I always say better is subjective. So I'm going to say nothing is.
So I got to pull 3 or 4 of those out, Andy.
Nothing is inferior to another one of our products because the calibration algorithms are all set in firmware. They're all the same files. So they all use the same thing. So they're all accurate with each other. When we're talking about SPL sensors, when it comes to better, that's your preference. Do you want wired, wireless, portable, expandability? That has nothing to do with how we made them. It's just we made so many variants that we wanted to fit everybody's method of how they want to use it. Now when Adam was talking about the next USB versus the wireless meter, I'd like to compare the USB base meter second edition to the next USB, because some people will want to know what the difference is if they only want to use 2 sensors. So the USB base meter, just like the Wi-Fi, does allow one extra sensor. The next USB allows up to 4. But let's say that you never want more than 2. So they both can do 2 sensors. And the USB base meter with a secondary sensor is about $70 cheaper. So why get the next USB if you only want 2 ports or 2 sensors? And here's the difference. On the USB and the wireless, if you add a secondary sensor to the device, you're tapping off of the SPL sensor itself, which means that you're going to be running a wire off the sensor from your windshield to your secondary sensor.
That's a pain in the butt.
There's no way around it. If you use the next USB, every separate sensor runs from that box, which is sitting next to the computer. So if you got a table sitting in front of the passenger side of your vehicle, you run one cable to the front of the vehicle. Say you're clamping one cable to the back of the vehicle, and they're all coming from one location. Which is like dead center of your vehicle outside. So you have better reach with the next USB. But if you don't plan on using more than 2 sensors ever, you wouldn't need the USB or the next USB if you're okay with piggybacking off.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds more for like personal use. It sounds more like, you know what I mean? And then you got a lot of weight pulling on that meter that's suction cup to maybe your window. You got 2 wires hanging.
Well, I guarantee you that the suction cups that we use now everybody knows that SPL Lab is made in Russia. So I have to import it up from Russia. SPL Lab would not run without me. Back at the beginning in 2010, when I was importing SPL Lab, they used the world's worst suction cups ever. Anybody who was a beginner customer of ours would attest that we would have to be replacing suction cups every few months for free. I got tired of it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We're measuring sound and we can't figure out how to suction something. So I got a hold of a company. That's all they do. They make suction cups, and they're made right here in the USA. And I told Kirill about it, and he goes, ship them to me. And he tested them. He goes, this is perfect. And for the price that they're made for here in bulk, we've been doing it like that now for almost a whole decade, and he's never going to switch. These suction cups have never, ever, ever needed replacing, ever.
Wow.
They have, I mean, anybody who has a sensor right now within the last 10 years, they got rings around the cups to reimburse their strength. The suction cups are very small compared to anyone else's because we didn't need them to be big, and they're rated for up to 5 pounds.
Oh
You're
wow.
never gonna have 5 pounds on your windshield. We've never had them come off or nothing. I mean, unless your windshield comes off.
Right. I was gonna say mine never fell off. Yeah, I'm not loud, so can't. You got something
I
for
got
us?
I got some pretty loud vehicles. I've monitored quite a few vehicles, and they don't come off very often. If it is, it's because it just didn't get put on correctly. Oh no, I didn't have anything. I mean, if somebody wants to see something or go through something like in detail, I'll absolutely go through whatever if somebody wants to.
Absolutely, yeah. If you guys that are still sticking around, we still got 33 people watching, man. These people were they're enjoying the content, which is good.
What was our high, Andy?
Like 45, 47.
Nice.
Yeah,
I know about 6 or 8 people that are working, and they're like, "Man, I want to, but I'll have to watch it after."
No, that's good.
I will say also about the Wi-Fi meter is that when Adam was talking about the battery, the typical constant use time for battery is about 2.5 to 3.5 hours before death. We also supply power packs with the meters, so if you use it in conjunction with the meter, you will get about another hour and a half to 2 hours and 15 minutes extra in the meter.
Now that's just the meter, though. That's not running a secondary clamp or another meter, right?
I've tested running a secondary sensor. I can't remember if it was another SPL meter or if it was a clamp on the next LCD on this power bank, and adding a second sensor dropped the battery usage. This is just on the next LCD because the next LCD pulls more power because it has to power a screen.
Right.
But the next LCD uses the same battery as the Wi-Fi meter. So on the next LCD, when I added a power pack to it, it increased its battery life by an hour and 43 minutes. And then when I added a second sensor, it only increased it by like an hour and teens, like an hour 16 or something like that. So you lost 30 minutes on a secondary sensor. And we can't make the batteries bigger. We use small case foam batteries. You want to get them in bulk. There's no room really inside to use any cylindrical batteries, so they have to be flat because we have to. They have to float over the circuit board, but they also have to be protected from vibration. So we got to have room for cooking in there. So it don't damage the battery and it don't damage the board. And you don't want it to come loose and rattle all over the place. So we got to have some wiggle room there. We would never have that with any type of a cylindrical battery.
I was going to say, what kind of batteries are in there?
Oh God,
they're basically like a cell phone type battery. It's just it's a lithium.
It's nothing big. Like it's not a big like current batteries that they use in cell phones today. Like it's like 2-point-something ampere, I believe is what it is. And now they could go bigger. I mean, unless the next LCD, but SPL Lab refuses to do so because the protection circuit on the board limits how much amperage can be brought into the charge port. And so if we, let's say, double the battery capacity on the next LCD, you're going to be charging that thing for half a day. And nobody wants to do that, so.
Yeah, you don't want to be recharging halfway through the show or whatever,
No, realistically, if you're doing a show and an event, next USB, I mean, that's just the way to go.
I mean, if you
can get away with a small event, but I mean, for a few $100s more or whatever, it's not really worth it.
Yeah, if you had a really monstrous power pack and you had something that ran on one of our batteries devices, the only thing I would suggest to you is this: if you want to go wireless or portable that runs on a battery, the LCD base meter second edition runs on AA's, so not that one, but the next LCD or the Wi-Fi. If you have a large power pack that you think will last forever, make sure that you use a power pack with a low amp discharge. because
It's not high disk though. You don't need to just 40C output like what we use
Oh,
in the
come on, but I want to
system.
charge in 5 seconds.
well, you don't want to overheat the battery inside either. You know,
Okay.
so that's the thing. Like we limit the charge, the charge at a 1 amp. You know, and so I would say, you know, for one, you can't use a power pack over 1 amp discharge because it won't benefit you. But at the same time, even if you can get one lower, because the power packs that we have, they're limited between half an amp to an amp, and you know that's what you want, slow discharge.
Are you talking about like 5-volt, like USB chargers, pretty much? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, most are usually 1 amp. Most are usually 1, or they can do 2.1, but
Even if the power packs are putting in less than what the device is pulling, it's okay. You know, if you're using 2 and 4 sensors, that's okay because you're prolonging the internal battery of the device. You know, the goal ain't to recharge it. The goal is just to keep it running.
Hey, Matt, Nathan popped in and said he's been watching a little bit. I talked to him earlier. He's at work. But him and Terry might be interested in what I sent you the other day.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
They won't have far to go.
Right. Yeah. He goes, well, he's about 2 hours. I'm like, I don't think that's an issue, dude.
I can't even.
I think your internet's messing up again, Andy. I hear it cutting in and out, and your views keep going from 2 watching to 20 watching
Do
and
you
back
see
down.
that? I don't know what's
I do.
going on. I have no idea. Now it's to 10, it goes to 30. I'm not getting anything on my end. I mean, you guys sound clear. Everything looks good. Do I sound and look okay? I think it's StreamYard. Something's going on.
I'm definitely getting a delay. So, like, I'm using my phone for the video, and I got one of my computers set up on the hard line to check the chat and to actually view us on the screen. And there's a delay between the two, but it's not a whole lot.
That's weird. That is weird. Yeah, you would think it'd be the same because you're on the same thing as this, as if you were a guest on the show. You're just, it would be the same. That's weird. I
mean,
don't know.
it's a little bit. It's definitely there, and that's what was confusing me because like the screen share versus the computer where I'm actually watching it, there's
Different.
almost no delay, but my phone there's a delay to both of them.
Oh wow.
Which is weird because like I have a really fast connection on my phone. I mean, I'm hitting over 500 megabyte download.
I know you're nuts with your stuff. I ain't glitching. I got the camera working finally. It's these guys. They're trying to do too much on the show.
There you go. That's what it is. We got too many damn screens on the show.
Yep. I got this
It's your
Dell
internet, buddy.
laptop, man. This laptop is it's giving its all right now. Okay.
Yeah.
They're
You know
trying
what?
to-
It probably is, dude. It really is, and that's why I split my load up in between 3 computers.
Yeah.
Hey, is
Yeah,
anybody,
El
Hey, is
Fuego
anybody
had a
use,
question. You had it up there for a minute. Something about screen size or something. So
right
on
here.
that, is he talking about resolution or actual
think-
size itself?
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
I've ran this on my 70-inch TV in my living room, no problem. Like that's not even an issue. As far as ideal, I mean my little office computer here that's 30-inch or whatever, 25-inch works great. Laptops work great. I haven't
puts
really
out
noticed any
1080.
It
Puts
yeah,
out
I
1080, right, or whatever.
I don't know that, but I don't have any issues with my laptops or screens.
the smallest screen I've ever used it on is a 15-inch, and back to what we said before, if the screen that you're using is too small, undock unnecessary windows and make what you want to see bigger.
Right. Roll them up.
Hey, is-
Well, another one is de-bloat your windows, man. Get rid of all that garbage.
Hey, has any one of y'all ever used our mobile software before?
What do you mean the
Mobile
mobile?
soft-
Like the Android?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're currently, the Wi-Fi meter can work, on the wireless or the mobile software. But if you have a phone or tablet where you can connect, let's say, like the next USB up to it, because one of the things that people know about the software is that you can enter into the video mode where you can do live video recordings and still get your SPL readouts and whatever. If
Yep.
your device is connected to our software, you can also do the same thing with the clamp. So while you're doing live video, you can also get live wattage readings with your SPL score combined. And with most judges, wanting to use Next USB because that's what you should be using, that it's making me wonder if it's kind of making me wonder how classes would evolve, with people actually executing the video recording function of the Android device, if we could find a way to actually use it in competition in such a way to where it wouldn't interfere with the with the judging system. I don't know exactly how it would work because we're not going to write judging software for mobile devices, but I don't know if there would be a way to detach access from the computer to go, like how we're doing now. Like I'm using a cell phone, some of y'all may be using a computer, but we're all attached, to one screen, to where to use a cell phone as part of your computer to do these live recordings of a run without it interfering with the actual person's scoring on the actual computer that's keeping all those results.
Almost like an overlay in a way, so it doesn't have anything to mess with the actual computer testing the results.
Yeah. It would just be like an added benefit of, hey, we don't just measure SPL and power, in this class. We actually have videos, of it in action.
So for my shows, I typically take a webcam and go ahead and just record the lanes as people pull in and out a lot of times.
Okay.
And then I do some screen recording on top of just a webcam just to kind of show my local guys, that don't get to make the show or whatever. If I have it 4 hours away and some of my local guys can't make it, we still get to share some of that into our group so everybody gets to see because,
right. I was thinking about doing that for Team SP Loud this year, literally having one computer for a live stream and the other computer running the SPL lab and, answering comments when I'm
if you have a good enough computer, you can run it all on one. Honestly, it's just about multiple monitors.
See, my computer is not good enough. I tried it and it works, but then whenever I move the mouse or it starts clamping power, you can hear it in my audio from my mic. It starts going. It can't do everything at once, streaming and doing the SPL lab. I'd rather just have two computers anyway, so I have my screen here hooked up to the computer so that people can see their scores.
Well, we need to upgrade your one and get you a second one. How about that?
Sounds good. Yeah, that's. It's on the list. I mean, doing the streaming stuff, you got to have really good equipment. I went other places with the money, first, because I got the laptop literally just for Team SP Loud because my other one stopped working. It won't come out of Protect. Like, it just goes beep, 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 just forever, never turns on. It's done. Hard drive or something's going on it. But
I'd go buy an SSD drive, dude, and put Windows on it and just rebuild it.
Yeah.
Matt, speaking of that, have you went to an SSD drive yet on yours, buddy?
Me? No. This is
Matt.
Oh, I'm gonna say this is stock.
The computer that's running my SPL lab right now is about 10 years old.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't really take too much processing for the SPL lab. You know what I mean? It is a pretty simple, face value processing. So
I've done something. I've tried to get Kirill to expand on it. Maybe he will in the future, but I don't think any leaks would need this. It's just kind of cool to do. But I've asked him, because I've done this before, I've connected 8 SPL sensors to a computer before and then made a small screen video showing, hey, look, I got 8 SPL windows running at the same time.
Jesus.
And I asked him, I go, wouldn't it be neat, to open up 2 instances of the software and have two next USBs, 4 SPL sensors per software window, make an external sync button for all active software windows to where when you hit start, all the software programs start at the same time. And he, this is expensive. I mean, you're talking about a lot of hardware.
$4 or $5 grand easy, yeah.
but the point of it is you can't see sound. but you can measure it. If
Right.
you add enough sensors into a 3-dimensional volume, you can measure enough points to, if we think about it, we could possibly get software to graph what we're measuring in a 3-dimensional.
Literally throughout the vehicle.
Yeah, you
Wow.
could
I've done 3 or 4 at the same time in vehicles before too.
Yeah, like you could actually like measure something, change something, keep all the sensors, the same location, top, bottom, left, right, forward, backward, all that, and then measure again. And your primary goal is just to change in one location. But when you have 6, 8 sensors and you change something and you measure, you get to see how the sound moves through the vehicle, how it all changed. Because it might give you another idea of like, hey, well, it helped or hurt where I meet her at. But why did it help or hurt over here and over
If
here?
you sit like this, or this, it's really loud.
El Fuego, you said put it up there. Thanks, El Fuego. When you're ready for one, just hit me or Shane up, and
Absolutely.
there's a lot of dealers out there. Shout out to all of them that are helping move this product. It's not about all of us just one person making money or whatever. Thomas Van, Expletive Audio, you guys just picked up FX Audio. I mean, all of us are working together just to make sure that this goes right. So hit me up, hit Shane up, PM me. I know under the chat I'm under Ghostbuster, but my name's Adam, and just PM me. We'll get you taken care of, dude. It's all in stock, and yeah.
And I will tell you, Andy, too, that it's far less than $5,000. I mean, if someone wanted to do that, 8 SPL sensors on two next USB controllers is less than $1,600. That's not retail at all.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
less than $800 per 4.
That ain't bad at all. It's not bad. Yeah, because I think I paid like $600 for mine, sensor, clamp, and then the next US, obviously. And it's been worth every penny. You know what I mean? And it's just, I can add to it, which I'm gonna do. And it's just enough sensors. So if you do want to have people competing against each other real time, power and SPL, it does it all. So I feel like it's the one-stop shop for the SPL lab. Like honestly, go big or go home. get the next USB.
And Adam, I had talked to Kirill actually just the other day about some things that is and is not going to happen and might happen. So if people are thinking of ideas, I might be able to squash some of them and then make people think about some other stuff. One of the things that I talked to him about is when the wireless meter first came out in 2011. It was obviously the first wireless SPL meter, in this market. And a few years later, when we came out with Next USB and Next LCD, I don't know if y'all remember this, but there was other versions of it that had Wi-Fi chips in them. Hardly anybody wanted
Right,
them.
I did. Yeah, I talked to him about that too.
Hardly anybody wanted them, and we had to stock them. So now we're stocking stuff that nobody wants, so he eventually discontinued it. So years later, fast forward to now, we still only have the wireless meter, as the only wireless device. And the wireless meter is the only guaranteed device that'll work with mobile software because of operating system limitations. With the iOS, you will never be able to connect a wired device to it. We've done it, but we're not really going to explain how to do it because it requires extra hardware to spend money on, and if iOS blocks it in the future, to be, we don't want customers to waste money. It may work today, it may not work tomorrow.
Might have to jailbreak your phone. You know what I mean? Or
so the idea that I brought up to him is as I go, people can't get access to the mobile software functions when they're getting non-Wi-Fi meters like the Next USB. So I go, we need to stop limiting people on that. I go, because it kind of sucks, I don't want people to be having Next USB and then also the Wi-Fi meter just to use the software. So I was telling him, I go, now of course we can use it wired too. I just got to get that up publicly later, but I still want it wireless. So what I told him is, I go, we need to take the board out of the Wi-Fi meter and make it an independent external device sold separately for people who actually need it. Meaning, we would sell a next hub, a next Wi-Fi hub, so that any wired device will plug into this hub, and then all transmissions would then be wireless.
Oh,
Now,
nice.
now, right off the bat, he does like it, but he also says too that he don't suggest it to be used for competition because there ain't no Wi-Fi device out there that's stable.
Right.
Data
Right.
loss and all that. And like I said, I did talk to him about the next USB wireless because me and Matt talked about it, and that's what he said is that when you start hooking up 4 meters to it, the data transmission starts losing packets and stuff. Is what he told me.
Wow.
Yeah, the wireless would be nice for competitors, so that way we don't have to have a laptop out and everybody sees our scores or power
If you
readings.
have an extreme vehicle and you don't want any wires ran in your vehicle at all, if you want it really sealed, no holes in the window, nothing, you can use a wireless meter to do that. But at the same time,
Right.
we run the risk of you doing your run and then all of a sudden, bam, something happens and all that score that you may have been able to do has got to be redone again.
Yep.
And you don't want to ask a competitor to have to rerun, especially if their battery capacity is only built for one run.
Right. Or if they blow a sub during that run, that's got to be the worst ever. Not even to get
Right.
that score. I can't do that again, guys. I'm done. One and done.
I think what would be cool, honestly, on that subject that you're talking about, is not just for competition use. Like, use the next USB for competition like we do now. Run your 4 meters, your 2 lanes, whatever. But have Wi-Fi capability that connects to Android software. So somebody out in the crowd can see that and do the camera recording and see the scores from the next USB on that camera. So not necessarily make a new device or new software, just make them work together.
Yeah,
Right.
it would have to be uploaded to a. Well, I had mentioned the word screen mirroring.
I
just
mean,
to give him a
Something as simple as this, just a Wi-Fi port.
Yeah, I had mentioned something about being able to cast, and then people can intercept it. But I think the proper way to do it, I think, would maybe to just to upload it to a server and then let everybody connect to it. I don't think it really matters how it would work right now, but yeah, I get what you're saying. There was another thing that we talked about when the wireless base meter 3rd edition came out. And we talked about this a few years ago, and he mentioned, and not me, and nothing's ever came of it. But there was a reason why we switched from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi, and he made this comment and then never has followed up on it. He goes, "Well, Wi-Fi uses IP addresses, right?" I go, "Well, duh."
Oh.
Yeah. He goes, "Well, I have the ability to literally connect to someone else's SPL meter from anywhere in the world.
Oh, God.
If I wrote the software for it." He goes, "So technically speaking," he goes, "I could write the software to where we could be running shows in multiple locations around the world, and we could all be together live. Now I know the DB Sync, is used to do that, but what he's talking about is literally like what we're doing now. You can't get more live than this.
Right.
And nothing's came of it. I don't know if anything will come of it, but expandability is what he always goes to. Expandability and being innovative and being everything ran on IP address on the Wi-Fi meter is questionable as to how far that he's willing to go with that technology.
Well, and I've talked to him about that multiple times, and that's why we're working on this sync portion right now of the software. Is I think as far as the video portion, I think it's as opposed to even just writing it into and coding it and going through that, we would be better off using something like this, like what we're using now, to screen share and be live with each other at multiple locations, where the information for the SPL Labs itself, we only need the database to transfer the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can do this right here, right now. I mean, we could all be for running a competition and then have all of us in SPL lab USB and all of them syncing into the same database. We have everybody's scores. We can screen share the runs. I mean, just like we are right now. We don't need it inside of the software.
True.
Is there a low limit to how many people can connect to StreamYard? Like, can you get 100 people on here without having to pay?
I think it's 20 or something like that.
I don't know. I think I can do 9. I don't know. I know you could pay for
well, there's a
more.
paid version that does 20 too, I believe, as well.
Yeah. Well, I pay for it. It's just there's other bigger plans. I think Kicker's got the big one. They got like the $50, $60. Plus you can add more stuff. You know.
Speaking of Kicker, is he on? Is Kip on, man?
Kip, he's doing all right. I actually talked to him today for a little bit. Just praying for him. He's just going through some stuff, but everything's okay otherwise.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know I wanted to contact him because I know he didn't come on the Unmasked show this week, and I was like, huh? What's going on?
Yeah, well,
So,
I noticed that, and I know he said something about being interested in this possibly. I was hoping he was on live with us. Say, let's bring him in and talk, man. Let's get one in his hand. I think his show needs one, you know what I mean, versus what they're doing now with the other meters, you know, that they work great, but being able to screen share and stuff is, you know, it's going to be much better for viewers for sure.
Absolutely. I think they are going to grab one, or they already do have one. I swear to goodness, because I know they're talking about it because I know
you mentioned to me, and I said, yeah, cool, and I put a discount on my thing for him, and
that was way ago. It was like 2 months ago. He was supposed to, so he never grabbed one off you.
He never got a hold of me.
Okay, then maybe that was just because of everything going on. I'll talk to him. I'll see if he still wants to grab one from you. Because I swear to goodness, that's why I thought that he already grabbed it.
Yeah, no. Tell him to message me. We'll get him taken care of.
Damn. Yeah, because I know that'd be perfect. Because they do have the 81 amp dyno and stuff like that, but the SPL lab is going to do more. Probably because whenever they even say when they test amplifiers, they don't just test for power. They're using all different kind of equipment to test. Everything.
Well, yeah, the AP and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you get signal to noise ratios and all that. And I've talked to Krill about this too as well. That was a step into the export that we got here. Is there's all kinds of measurements in there that we're adding to that, like that. And I've even talked to him into doing other things to where we can, start doing what like the DATS controller does, where we can start pulling TS parameters and things like that off of subwoofers. And I want to do make this completely. I mean, it's already all around versus most meters, but let's add all those other things.
Right.
Yeah,
that'll be crazy.
Me and Adam used to joke around, and I used to tell Adam back when I first got the SPL lab that the SPL lab was like the AK-47 because it's Russian made.
Yeah.
But Krill's now, he's getting to the AR platform.
We're turning it into the AR with the things we're doing.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Coming for you. Coming.
Wouldn't it be wild if SPL Lab was measuring TS parameters for so long that people started making classes and got rid of culinary? There's a vase limit. You're only allowed 600 vase in this class. So
vase, like moving air, yeah. Honestly.
Well, I mean, we're taking all the measurements from amplifiers. We might as well be able to read what we can use the speaker for.
That'd be awesome.
Get all the It's just, I mean, it'll just be that much more that people need to use. Be able to pull those parameters to build your box. To run.
Let's see if this SCAR subwoofer actually has correct TS specs. We're going to find out. Stay tuned.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, the hardware's there. It's just a matter of making it happen.
It's exactly what I was going to say. What Adam said. For anybody who's on SPL Lab for a long time and continues to update the software, you see so many improvements. Like, all of a sudden, today, now my meter can measure this now. How is that possible? We have the hardware that's measuring everything. All we have to do is write in the code to the software to expand on the values that's being measured. That's why the delay function in the RTA was added. had nothing to do with the hardware. Hardware's already
And I didn't get into
Wow.
the delay. We should get into that. We never got into that.
Absolutely. Do you want me to throw up your screen there, Adam?
No, because I can't get in it. I don't have the right mic. We need to, but I think we
okay.
should probably talk about it.
Sounds good. This has been fun so far, guys, man. Honestly, this is a blast, and it's like, I'm learning stuff. Obviously, you know, I'm not no super pro at it, but I know how to work around it and stuff, and had help from both of you guys, and it's just cool learning all the inner workings of the SPL Lab software and the things that you guys want to continue to work on, and honestly just make the community better. You know, you're just literally just trying to make a tool for everything, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and basically Brazil is the one who forced us to make the next SPL wideband sensor. I mean, they've been pushing. People in Brazil and Mexico have been pushing for a wideband sensor for like 1.5 years, and Kirill kept brushing it off. There's only a handful of people that want to do that. You know, there's no point in mass producing it. And then all their installs start coming into the United States. Now everybody wants to build these massive 100,000 watt plus installs, and it's like, Kirill, how are they going to measure it? I mean,
Well, go into it a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people understand what the wideband sensor is actually for.
The wideband sensor. Now, I don't suggest just everybody buy it, you know, because you're going to get too much information, you know, if you're using it to its full potential. So it just depends on if your install needs it and if you really care about it. But basically, a typical SPL sensor from SPL Lab will read from 10 hertz or sometimes to 20. You know, sometimes it starts at 20, but most of them is at 10 hertz and goes up to 120 hertz. That takes care of all your sub-bass frequency range right there. So then the next thing is, how high does amplitude go? Well, all the meters I can plug up to a computer, they go up to 180 or higher. So some of them go over 190, you know, but it's plenty, you know, for what everyone's doing. So then you go, okay, well, what about the new age of car audio? The new age car audio that has a few subs and a few thousand front door speakers, you know, and 69 horns in the back, you know, just stuff that's not was heard of, you know, a few years ago.
Right.
And these installs, from what I was hearing in Florida, someone was coming in to measure this stuff, and I don't even know if it was, I don't even know if it was even being measured right. Is people was getting these scores, and I go, from what? What are you measuring on? No, and nobody knew. And the readings were questionable. Like people were saying, oh, I'm getting 150 something dB at something kilohertz. I'm like, really? If you're getting that high, you know, I don't think you'd be able to hear. You know, if you're, you know, I mean, that's ridiculous high. So anyway, so you know, I don't like the idea of blindly getting measurements and not knowing what people are using. So, you know, so after pushing Kirill over and over and over, he finally just came to me. Okay, I've decided to make it. So what the wideband sensor is it's an another way to explain before I go into it is, what is the difference between an SPL meter and an RTA microphone? This is the best explanation. An SPL sensor, the user goes into an SPL sensor as the following. You know what frequency range that you're going to play. You just don't know what the amplitude is until you test. The RTA is the exact opposite. You know exactly what amplitude range that you're going to play. You just don't know what the frequency ranges are going to show, your peaks and dips.
Right.
So it's back and forth. What does a SPL wideband sensor do? Well, the specifications say it's got both aspects, 10 hertz to 20 kilohertz in 1 hertz increment, you know, like a typical RTA, and a calibration range that starts at either 100 or 110, I can't remember. But, let's say 100 to 185 dB. So what that means is this sensor, you would go into it as the following. you don't know what amplitude to expect, and you don't know what frequency range that you're going to play in, because it's literally going to capture everything that you're going to play. And depending on what you're doing, whether you're playing a sweep, which would be forever for full range, or if you're playing music or a test tone or whatever, it's going to tell you so much information, but it's primarily focused to those installs for the mids and highs that are just deafening. It's the only device. It's literally, I mean, this is no lie. It's literally the only device in the current car audio market that's marketed just for car audio that can measure full range audio at high amplitude. All other RTAs, well, all typical RTAs will stop at 120 or 130. We had, I mean, we still do, but once this wideband sensor came out, I don't really want to stock it no more. But we had a high level RTA that could read up to 155 dB. Well, that's
holy crap!
Yeah.
How are you doing sound quality at 155 dBs? That's tough.
And it started, and the calibration range started at 80. You know, so it was still able, you know, to do SQ, because I think in Mecca, I think as some SQ class likes you to be around 90 dB. I think, I can't remember.
Yeah, but, I think so. 89, 90. Yeah.
Okay. And so with this, that goes up to 185. It's not just a matter of, oh, now we got a piece of hardware that can do it. You know, look at what I just said. Now we have a piece of hardware that can do it. Literally, you know, it's not just, oh, it says it can. No, it really can. It's specifically designed for it. You know, it's not no random meter that nobody knows, you know, who made it, you know, and don't know how accurate it is. It is the real thing.
Right.
It's specifically designed to measure the new era of car audio, the extreme loud mids and highs.
Stunt walls.
Yeah, I was just going to say stunt wall slamology. Yeah.
That's what it's for, dude. That's what it's for.
Wow, and that probably hits the 135 range, probably, if you call it that kind of weighting, like a higher frequency, not like low frequency stuff like the stunt walls. They can be stupid loud. Like, it's louder than a rock concert.
I'll tell you what Kirill told me. I asked him, I go,
Did I lose everybody?
I'm here. Looks like Shane might have cut out.
He's back.
You see me? Okay.
Now we can hear you. You're good.
So I asked Kirill back when the wideband sensor was still being in R&D. I asked him, I go, so how do you test this? And he says, it's the worst thing I ever have to do. He goes, I'm going to have to make a test box to test this. He goes, I can't just test it. You know, like we don't use speakers to test stuff. You know, the accuracy of the SPL sensors, we use air. We actually use air to test the accuracy of the sensor. So there's absolutely no audio in
it makes sense, because that's just air molecules moving.
Right,
so,
and when you got it in an enclosed box, that's how we know it's dead on.
Wow.
So with the wideband sensor, he goes, well, I can't test it the same way. He goes, not to 20 kilohertz. He goes, I am going to have to make a speaker box, a completely sealed box, and do testing. He goes, it's going to be enclosed. He goes, I'm not going to be in the room. He goes, no. And I go, yeah, I don't blame him. I don't want to hear 170 dB at 5 kilohertz or whatever. But yeah, he said that basically what it is he guarantees that the meter is accurate up to close to 170 at any frequency range above 120 hertz. Once you get above that, the accuracy of the meter is purely based on math. It's purely based on how pressure sensors algorithmically measure based on
dip or something.
You know, so unless there was a major flaw that someone found, we would have to go in and test that flaw. And
which, speaking of that, I have one in T-Fade's hands, and he was supposed to get me some testing done, and he didn't get a chance to do that.
Yeah, there was one flaw found at the beginning of the release of the wideband sensors, where something Kirill told me something about around 7 kilohertz. The meter was being, I think he said way too strict. It was reading too low, and so I had to ship them all back. I had to recall them immediately, and then he did something, and then had to remake a whole new batch of them. And now we got all the new ones. So all the new ones, are fixed.
Jeez. Well, anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, we still got 20 people here, but my butt's getting sore, and I got to take a leak here soon. I feel like 3 hours is good. I don't know about you. We can definitely do it again. You know what I mean? There's a lot to cover with this, so.
There is, I know, and I wanted to kind of keep it a little short so it'd be easier for people to view, but man, there's just no way because there's so much here.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing on futuristic stuff, I've talked to him a little bit about, and I think it's going to be very cool for a lot of us, and it's probably in the future. It's not anything right now. Speaking of the wideband sensor, another measurement that a lot of us get into is wind. Everybody wants to know that wind flow and all that, and that's something that me and him have been discussing and working on a little bit as well. Putting a nanometer in the vehicle, hooked up to the SPL lab, so we can see miles per hour plus SPL, doing some kind of composite score with them, and it's in the works, guys. It's in the works. It's going to be coming out pretty soon.
That just sounds funny. Yeah, but you did 160 dB, but at what miles per hour?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's at 3 miles per hour versus 40.
Yeah. You never know. Category 5.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that is in the works. It's in there. It's in the brains. It's nothing going to be right away.
Has the research for Kirill, has it went as far as to him picking which device that he would like it to be calibrated to, or is it just in talks kind of right now?
It's in talks, and we're probably not going to go with the little fan style that everybody uses. We're going to go with something else, more like the SPL meters, where it measures pressure and converts it into miles per hour style.
In case anybody was wondering, SPL Lab, what we basically do is in the car audio market, we know what products that are out there that people have access to measure sound and power. And it don't even have to be car audio related. People could be using flukes to measure power. We don't care. We know about it. We don't want, and Kirill is very strict on this. He does not want our products to be inferior. He doesn't want someone to come across and go, after using this for a while, I found out that there's a device that's actually better. It may cost 2 or 3 times more. He don't want that to happen. Right. So to tell people what has happened, the SPL sensors are based upon multiple variations of algorithms that have grown over time on one of the largest competitors in the world. And because it's, if someone uses the most popular sensor around the world, then we ought to match or exceed that capability. I mean, it only makes sense, If everybody uses a fluke in the field, all other manufacturers would want to strive to be, like that. When it comes to non-SPL stuff, when we made the AC power clamps, those power clamp kits that you can buy right now were tested against 2 different competitors' kits and a $400 X-Tech ammeter, and he, what SPL Lab wanted is they wanted to see how all 3 devices variated in the results of clamping all the same wire from low to high amperage, and measure the values that all 3 are getting. I mean, everything that you see on our software, they want to see from all 3 devices, so we can figure out why one device is reading this, why the car audio market accepts this device, even if it's right or wrong, whatever. Right. And it got funny. that most people don't know this, and this has nothing to do with recent events. But no, I don't think a lot of people know this. And it's pointless for us to publicly say this. You know, we don't advertise this, but when we was measuring all three different devices, two competitors and then one non-competitor, just a random X-Tech model, I can't remember the name. The Car Audio branded competitor result shown that one of the most widely used devices has a lot of flaws. And I'm not talking about what it can and can't do. We're talking about how it calculates power. And it was so bad that we had to discard its entire algorithm because we couldn't copy it because it was bad. You know, it's like, you know, something's bad, so bad that you don't want to duplicate those results.
That's insane.
That's insane. And if people want to ask, you know, well, how come yours is measuring this and then the competitors ain't? And it goes, trust me, you don't want the results. Yep. If you want to learn how volts and amps are measured, don't go down that road to where if brand A makes it, you know, it's the god of all accuracy. No, I would never trust every device a certain brand makes just because a certain brand made it, because anybody can have flaws. You know, the good thing about us is that if a flaw is found, you better tell us, because if we don't know what to fix, and we're open to fix everything, you know, especially as soon as we know about it.
And to touch on that, I mean, when I first started with the SPL labs, you know, it worked. There was tons of bugs. I mean, I must have fixed 100 bugs in the software, especially in the event stuff. And, you know, as soon as I started talking with Krill, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, we had, like that spike you were talking about, you know, where it peak out, Andy. It would just, you know, when I first started, I'm like, dude, what's going on, Krill? Like, look, here's this, that, and we started researching, and we figured it out, and it's done. It's fixed. Like, that's awesome. And there was a bunch of them. There was the timer. We had the timer freezing up periodically for whatever reason. Did you notice that too?
Yep. I'd have mine just run all day. You know what I mean? Just hit reset, and sometimes the timer would freeze, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? It would
freeze, or it'd go like 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. That's all fixed.
Yeah, and it would catch up.
It's all done. We fixed it.
Oh, wow. I can't. And that's in the 2.81 release? Is that what it is?
It's 2.8 currently. It may go to 2.82 when it's released. I'm not sure. Okay. But from the 2.7.8, which is what you currently run, which is pretty good now. That one should have the timer fix in it. I mean, the beta version from that 2.7.8 up to the 2.8.1, I would say I have 100 beta versions.
That's crazy, man.
Where we went through everything, added new features, fixing bugs, doing this, that. I mean, just numerous things.
I got a question. Since you're helping with like bugs and coding and all that stuff, do you ever like purposely put any Easter eggs in there and see if they slip through? You know what I mean?
No, if we find something, we fix it. If there's something there and you find it, tell Shane to get at us. Let's fix it. Straight up, whatever it is. I don't, you know, you find it, fix it. I've fixed a lot. You know,
that's crazy.
It to a point to where I started doing so much. Krill actually sent me debugging software that I run on a second screen in the background. So when I run it and I find something, we know exactly what time, where it did it, what it did, why it did it, and then I can send him the debugging information as well as my database and everything that I used to make it happen, explain to him what to do, not as far as like coding or whatever, but what I do to make it fail or whatever. And man, like a day later or 2 days later, here, try this, and boom, done, fixed.
Wow, that's awesome.
And another thing too is that when it comes to operating system compatibility, I know the website says that the software is only good up to Windows 8, which of course is wrong. Whenever a new Windows operating system is coming out, he gets, the public releases ASAP, while they're still in beta before they're released, the final versions. That
Yeah.
stuff is tested immediately just to make sure that our hardware is still passing along the same compatibility as what it was before. Because if it's not,
It won't work.
we have
Yeah.
to drop what we're doing and go, we're about to have a problem in a few months if we don't figure out what's wrong. So
It works on a Windows 11.
Yes, it does. It works all the way back to Windows XP and all the way back, then always to the current 11 right now. Yeah.
That's crazy. I know, because I keep getting warnings on my computer saying, would you like to download Windows 11? You have 10 days to delete it if you don't like it. And I'm like, man, I don't want to mess with my plugins, because I was having some problems with the Elgato. And then, just like you said, some things just might not work. I'm worried about updating my darn phone, because if I update my phone, I got to update iTunes. If I don't, I can't transfer stuff. It's like, I don't want to update nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're trying to stay on top of all of it for sure. But I'm also I'm limited to what I have, so my computer won't run Windows 11.
Yeah, speaking of updating,
that's a thing to know too.
my computer's telling me that I need to update mine.
Yeah.
It's going to kick me out.
See, that's what's stupid. See, back a long time ago in the 90s, everyone had this, focus of let's build the best computer so it's expandable, from years to come. Because back then computers weren't fast enough, and you had to keep buying the next best thing to keep up with, technology. Well, now computers are so fast that you don't have to build the best, so that the computer speed can maintain, well enough speed for the software. And I know that for a fact because the computer, I've got two computers, but one of them in the next room was built in 2014. It uses the a 6-core Intel i7. I can't remember what the model number is, a 49 something, but it got 64 gig of RAM in it. Okay, and this is 8 years ago, and still to this day, there's nothing that bogs that computer down. But I can't run Windows 11. And
so that's why I'm at. My computers are same thing. I'm running an i7 4990, I think, a K, 4990K. And no, it does not 25 to life. Chrome OS doesn't work.
It's because of that stupid security TPM thing. I have a TPM pin thing on the motherboard, but I was briefly reading that I might be able to solder something on there. I might not. But the point is, I'm like, really? I mean, if people really want to get around the TPM thing, Windows is software. It would take nothing for someone to code an emulator to emulate a TPM chip, on a computer. Done.
Right.
Well, you know what I was thinking that you could actually do for these guys with Chrome OS that may be simpler is run VMware with it, a virtual, and put Windows onto it, and then run it through the VM.
You definitely could. Yeah. You don't have to route or. You don't have to mess up your computer doing that, do you?
No, you just add VM software or VM emulator, and then put Windows on it and run it.
I know, some higher end game boards. I can't remember the terminology because I'm not much into computers. As I was, about a decade ago. But some high end gaming boards have separate banks of caps just for VMware. So to take this, because what you're doing is when you emulate an operating system, you're basically you're having to allocate parts of your active hardware to dedicate it into the VM station. So something I've never heard of doing, what Adam's talking about, which is hilarious, is running a operating system newer than what you have in a VMware. And I can only guess that if you're on Windows 7, 8, 8.1, or 10 to run Windows 11 through VMware, if the only thing that you're doing is non-critical stuff like gaming, if you're not doing, or like Photoshop, as long as you're not doing anything that takes up several gig of RAM, I'm on the fence of saying maybe 16 gig of RAM is enough to run a smooth VMware like that. But 24 gig, I'm kind of aiming for 24 gig. 16 will probably do it if you're doing like the bare minimum.
Gigabyte. I don't even know what this one has. I think it's 8 or something. I don't know. It's bad. It's like it's got as much RAM as my cell phone does. It's like, man, that's terrible.
Windows 11 is not like saying like, oh, you can't install us because your computer might lag. Hey, it ain't gonna lag. It's a security thing. It's all about the security protocol, this TPM thing. It's all about security. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, security. It took Microsoft 30 years to care about security all of a sudden.
Wow. I feel like sometimes when you update your computer, it can be a good or it can be a bad thing. You know, back when you would run Millennium Edition, yeah, you wanted the XP. But then if you would have a computer that was Vista, you'd want to downgrade to the XP just because it would run better. You know, and it's just... I feel like, you know, it's like putting
Windows
a new coil in.
Like, Windows Me should have been recalled to Windows B-SOD. That's basically all it was. I don't even know why that even came out. You get Windows 98, then Windows Me, then was it 2000, and then what was it, Vista and then XP? Is that how it was?
It might have been. No, I swore it was XP and then Vista, because Vista was the newer one.
But man, I hung on to XP for so long. I mean, because the way how XP would crash, you could maintain it.
Right.
You couldn't maintain the crashes, you know, as easily with the other operating systems because there was like problems with the way how the operating system is coded, or it could be like how like Windows 7 on up is now. It's so overlaid with the safe way of how everything works that if something crashes, it's not as easy to go into and just dig into it. Well, for example, Windows 10, the first time that I had a problem booting up, I restart the computer, I'm hitting F8, it don't do nothing. I go, well, maybe I didn't hit it fast enough, so I'm hitting it again, still nothing. I go, all right, well, they must have changed the button. Let's try delete. Sometimes it's delete, nothing. I'm like, what? What is the button? Oh, well, you can't do that. You have to boot up into the advanced startup mode and allow it to start up manually. What?
Wow.
That doesn't even make any sense. Why does that happen? I don't know. I think Microsoft was thinking backwards at that point. Why do you have to do that? It makes no sense.
Good old technology, man. Matt, you're back. What's going on, man?
Yeah, my computer decided it wanted to restart.
It's all good, man. They're like, you're getting Windows 11 whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
and see, that's something else too. And this is Microsoft's fault. It's just like what me and Adam was talking about a Windows 11. This computer in the other room, all of a sudden, quit booting up. I didn't get it back up into Windows till 3 days later, and I was working on it every day I could in between doing SPL app stuff. And what did it end up being? Windows Update had sent updates which crashed the system, and I didn't know it. I didn't even know I even had updates. What ended up happening was that I had to keep on fooling with it until it finally started up saying, oh, we're installing updates. I go, the hell you are. I go, that's what's the problem right there. You know, so I stopped it and then reverted them back, and voila, now it's back up in Windows. And I go, that's it. This computer is now done. No more Windows updates from here on out, because I already see what the end goal plan is to get me to get a Windows 11 computer. I go, there's nothing wrong with this hardware.
Wow, it's a shame. You know, it really is. And like you said, some things just won't run on it, and then say that company never makes their software run on the Windows 11, you can never use that again, and you'd have to almost get like a hard drive disk to go backwards, you know, to reinstall, and then you almost lose everything.
You know what I believe is going to happen? And it's really easy to visualize this because it's happening already. Companies like Netflix started it. You know, one of the first companies to stream movies.
Right.
And then before then, you know, you had services like Napster, whatever, the first services.
Yeah. The LimeWire days.
Now we got music. Now we got movies. And then what was the next step? OnLive, the company that streams your games. So then they go, let's take it one step further. Let's say I want to purchase Adobe software, but I don't have the money to do it. If you go on Adobe's website, you no longer have to purchase the software up front. You can pay subscriptions. It's cheap. I don't know, $20-$30 a month. They will literally stream you the software and give you access to that high-dollar software, but you just pay a monthly subscription to it. They're running it for you. You don't have to have a whole computer to do it. So when Bill Gates left Microsoft, I'm sure that he probably seen what was about to happen when all these tablets were coming out, that the Windows computer would not be necessary much longer. Storage, processing power will all be done from other companies doing it for you. And when we get conditioned to pay a flat rate fee of X amount of money a month, these companies will process the whole world for you, and all you need is a screen to access it. Your phone, your tablet. That's it.
Man, you're talking some crazy futuristic stuff. Next step you're going to say is you're going to be able to put glasses on and see your Facebook.
You can't. Isn't that what Meta's doing right now?
Yeah.
Well,
that's crazy.
You threw up a question there, Andy, that was somebody was talking about base wars or something.
Yeah.
They were trying to do.
They've been literally trying to do that. Yep.
So I've talked to them a little bit about SPL Labs. They got a hold of Shane, and he sent them to me. We built in the league. We have the league built in here. I'll hit him up again and see. Yeah, there it is. Base Wars did the finals last year in 2 places. Going to do it with 3. What y'all are talking about, they're trying to do. So they're running it in those locations, but their databases are still split. They're not one, and they're having to combine them as one later, or enter one from one location into the other manually, which is, I know, is how DB Drags did it a couple years ago. Wayne was running 2 softwares, and they were taking the California ones in one, and he was in the other one. He was entering in it, which was linked to the other one, so it did all 3 of the computers or whatever, because of the lag and the lag time, where this shouldn't have any lag time at all, because the file is so small that it should be instant to get those databases to each other's locations.
Do you think that people like him want to see real-time results quicker than DB Sync? In terms of like quicker as in like live video.
I mean, live video again isn't going to really show. I mean, yeah, because as far as like, if you're going head to head, yes, definitely something that maybe if you want to go like us head to head, you and me going head to head. I want to see your score, you want to see my score, but nobody currently runs head to head other than DB Drags. No one does it.
It's a lot of work too.
I know this is possible to do. I don't know if SPL Lab would do it, but with this software that's being used right now, that you can video screen capture software windows in a computer. I don't think anybody cares about seeing what the actual judges are seeing. Just a list of competitors waiting to be metered and all that. If the SPL Lab software was written to load an undocked window, I guess the best visual I could give you is, let's say you had 2 monitors at a show. One monitor is for the event mode software screen, and the secondary monitor is completely for screen mirroring for the public to watch. And what the window would be like a rolling amount of ads, showing you what's going on. Bracket, current runners, current results, what's coming up next, constantly cycling it every few seconds. Like a live video that would never end until you stopped it. And it's constantly rolling what has happened, what is happening, and what's about to happen.
I think it would definitely be good, and I think an easy way to do it is where we don't even have to really code it into SPL Labs, other than the fact of, like you said, we're using IP addresses. I think that configuration is already kind of there as far as the LAN, and we just need to sync that to, like my website or Krill's server or whatever, And I think we could actually just see that on a website or whatever, pretty easy. You want to throw up my share screen again real quick, Andy? Because I do want to go. I missed this earlier. We talked about it last night, and I did miss it.
I think I could just go right to there. Bada
Right
bing,
there.
bada boom.
So when we're in the event mode here, like we have our 4 competitors, we've ran them once, 0 dB, of course. This just brought it up. Standings right here. Once you have 4 competitors in here and you click the standings button, a lot of people think it's just the standings. What it actually does is it brings us into a bracket mode. In this bracket mode, so your first run that you did on the first screen that I show, you get the qualifying runs. Now here's your brackets. So in brackets, you can click measure that we want to measure this one. And when you click your play button, it's going to play Andy versus Crispy Coils here. After your measurements, it gives you all your results right here for each competitor. And let's say Andy won. So Andy would advance into the next category. Now we're going to take Fried Guts and Matt and measure them, and let's say Matt wins. So now here's your 2 winners, and then you'd measure them bracket mode, right?
I'm getting
so we
stomped.
can run brackets. Now, something that we also added in here on top of what most competitor or what somebody else does is right here we've added in double elimination mode. When you click double elimination mode, it'll bring down your 2 losers right here. So we would measure them, and it would bring one of them over here, and then we measure these 2. The winner would advance, the loser goes down here, so we have losers bracket now. We'd measure them. Now, Andy and Matt get to go out it. However, Andy has lost 1 round. Matt has not. So if Andy wins Matt in the next round, he gets another chance to go at it again. Double elimination.
It's almost like redemption, playing some beer pong. You know?
Right. And
awesome.
in this bracket mode, we can add up to 32 competitors, where you would have 32 competitors starting and then another 16 in the losing bracket. Now, that would take forever, but that's the capability of the software right now.
That's awesome. I like the secondary bracket for the losers because it's like, no, but wait, there's more. There's still more competing. It does make the show longer, but it makes it fuller in a way. I really do like how you guys have that set up. And
but,
that
that's how Little League All-Stars was when we played baseball as 10-year-olds, right?
Right.
True.
You're not done yet. Here's your trophy. Here, you got to keep going.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean,
That's awesome.
Who knows? Maybe who knows? Maybe in the future, your local cable company could offer you the new ESPN SPL TV channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No, that's cool though. That's cool. I like that a lot. I really do. And it's like I never really seen the event side. I can make my own event, but organization, but I can't do anything. So this is cool seeing this, and it's like almost making me want to buy it even more, which I'm going to anyway, but just more.
Yeah.
Right. Here, we'll get into some other stuff into this. I mean, since we're staying on, right? I'm just going to add in some scores here. Enter data.
Does anybody have any comments on our race meter that we have? If you think it should ever be incorporated into any sort of competition?
I don't know. I've never actually used it, so
I can't remember what it was calibrated off of. It was calibrated off of some $300 device. I can't remember what he said it was, and it basically measures your track times. You can be anywhere that you want, safely, of course, and as soon as you start to take off, just like your phone, it can keep track of when you move and when you don't.
Right.
And then it can be uploaded to a computer, and then get the data off the memory card, if you want to do it that way. But I know it'd be kind of iffy in terms of safety to be trying to measure people taking off, at a show, but
I mean, I do a lot of shows where car shows or events and like that. Like a lot of my shows are actually at a speedway. I mean, I got access to a speedway that's amazing. So, it could.
Yeah, Mecca used to do it. It was called Boom and Zoom.
Boom and zoom. I know. I'd actually be pretty good at that. It's I don't have a Suburban, so I don't know if it's 15 seconds anymore, but we'll see.
So once you have some actual numbers in here, right here, if you click the measure result button, it'll organize who's loudest up top for you. And then you can also, right here, like this is show best result. You can also go into an average mode for like base boxing. They do the average, and you can select how many runs. So like if there's 3 runs, these competitors haven't completed 3 runs yet, so you don't have an average score of 3 runs,
Right.
where this competitor did. But if you did 2, because this one I added in 2, now we have 2 average runs here. Okay,
That's nice.
it is nice. Summization. This is specifically we put in for NADBL, and I think Emma uses the same thing. And what it does is it doubles the amount of Bayesiers that you took. So like these guys would be in the 260 class for NADBL. This is their 2 scores together. So this competitor has 259.6 and this one has 258.7 because that's the numbers I put in. But it adds the 2 together, which we can do as many as we want. We can make it 3, again, where this competitor, nobody else has got 3 runs. But if we added a 3rd run into this competitor, just add in a 3rd run, would be 129.5. Now, when we get here, now we have both of them.
Wow.
So, and again, we could go back to average or whatever, however you want to organize it.
Right. And that's great for like those orgs that do those kind of things where you run twice, stay under 139.9 or whatever, close you can to 280, and yeah, that's perfect for that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to, go over before we end the broadcast? Like, any final thoughts, to the people who are watching? They're starting to drop off. It's getting late, at least for the people out in me and Matt's area. It's almost 1:30, so. But it's been fun, man, and you could go all day with this stuff. Any final
pretty
plugs?
much, yeah. Just shout out to everybody that came in. Thank you for coming aboard, and the people that are going to be watching it later. Thank you guys for watching it. If you need anything, we're always here to help. All 4 of us right here, anytime pretty much can help in any way. And if one of us don't know the answer, we're going to figure it out. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, just that. I mean, that's pretty much it.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah, so stay tuned. I'm going to be doing some more testing with my load tester here with a 5-channel. I actually have another next USB, so I can do up to 4 channels now.
Wow, that'll be perfect for like dynoing like the JP95 or any 5-channel. That's awesome. That's awesome. Because I thought about doing that for myself. I'm like, man, it's not going to be too accurate, but I can at least put a load on the 4 channels and then have a separate for the sub and just quote meter what the sub is doing and try to get as close as I can to the impedances. And it's so hard with reactive loads. But good thing I have a few speakers at disposal, but I'm still kind of limited. So it works.
Well, that's why I built the load tester.
Yeah, and
That's
get with
why
us, Andy. Let's get a load tester to you. That way we can start, doing load testing and your
Absolutely.
reactive loads, and yeah, we'll help you build one, dude. Trust me, that thing
Awesome.
that Matt's got is absolutely amazing, dude.
I don't need no fancy lights or nothing, but just something that works.
It didn't take much extra to do that.
I'll just slap a sticker on it. You know what I mean? Just
Some gold
that
letters.
would be cool. Yeah, some gold letter stickers. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be cool because that is something that some people ask. Is it the same? I think it's the same, but I like just doing the speakers just because it's what I had. And it's something different, but the resistive load, you can do a lot more with it, and you can get that perfect frequency. You can test 4 channels at 1 kilohertz. I'm sorry, I am not playing 1000 hertz through my speakers that loud, no way. But yeah, again, thanks for coming on. And Sean, anything before we head out?
The only thing I can think of is I had talked to Kirill about upgrading the smart voltmeter, and kind of hit a brick wall in the idea I was telling him. Apparently, he has engineering limitations when it comes to audio processing of amplifiers. So if anybody knows some sort of a collaboration effort between someone who does know and Kirill, that would be great. But the idea that we've suspended is we would like to be able to have customers run their RCAs through the voltmeter through a new type of device that can monitor the actual input voltage and output voltage going through your RCAs to where it would be visible on the screen.
Wow.
You can already do that with the power probe.
Yep.
And then be able to control and then be able to control what goes into the amplifier safely. Because a long time ago we had a device made that's discontinued now called the smart monitor, and I had it come out when tar amps was getting new in the U.S. And what the smart monitor did is you put it around like how you clamp stuff now around the DC and your AC cables, and it measures volts. And it had a screen on it where you would program safety limits on your equipment, such as, I don't want the speakers to ever put out or to accept more than this amount of wattage, or this AC rail, or this amount of AC current, or I don't want the amps to pull X amount of DC amps, or I don't want the battery bank to drop below a certain amount. And you do all that, and if it does, bam, it just shuts the whole system down. And what people didn't like, which is true, is, okay, we break the limit, but now I don't have audio. Now I got to keep on resetting. Right. And it's a lot of money. It was like a $350 device because it had to allow a bunch of current to pass through. So the new idea is scrap all that. Let's control the input voltage coming out of the head unit with a limiter. And I know that limiters are installed in crossovers, in amplifiers. It's a lot easier. It takes a lot less hardware to do it. We could set THD limiters within a device to where you could run your amps. I don't care what the volume is. Once you get over a certain volume, it can't get louder. That's a safer way of doing it. The problem is we don't have the ability to understand how to build a device that would allow such audio signal to come in and out without affecting its quality, because it has to be completely unprocessed, unfiltered. We don't want to tamper with the quality whatsoever, and to do that we would need help.
That's crazy, but it's cool that you guys are trying to take on that challenge. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and when you monitor the input and the output, then you can start getting things like signal to noise ratios and stuff like that as well, and get a lot of other readings.
Right.
I think the three of us need to get together with Krill one night and have a little discussion with him.
Yeah, Matt's a pretty good engineer, Shane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, man. It's just been an honor talking with you guys on my show. Thank you guys for coming on. I know I've been repping the SPL lab for a long time, but you guys obviously do the work, so I appreciate you guys just in every way, man, honestly. And it's been fun, and literally getting to meet you guys. I've talked to you guys online. We'll have to do this again for sure. Maybe we'll just think of some topics to go over in particular, or maybe some different type of tests, and just go from there. Let me know, whenever I stream. So we'll make it happen for sure.
Awesome. Let's get it. And anybody out there that wants one, man, hit me or Shane up, and we'll get you taken care of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Send me your links after the show. I'll throw them in the description below so people can find the stuff for it.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, well, everyone, it's been real. Just like you guys, stay living loud, be easy, have a good weekend. See you guys next time.
Yep. See ya. Peace.